Everyone, and welcome to Face the Music, the show where we talk about video game soundtracks and all things music related with musical people or non-musical people, or just talk about games and music and all that fun stuff. Today we are going to be showcasing some of the most festive games you could possibly think of for Christmas and Yule seasons, Silent Hill. And specifically, we're going to be doing Silent Hill 2, do a musical showcase for that, as well as doing Silent Hill 3. We're going to show off a couple of the different endings and just, showing off all that cool stuff. So we have a drummer extraordinaire, Max Elobes, joining us. We had unfortunately didn't have him on for a year of Hotfix, so we're making up for that, where he's going to be the star of the show for the entire show, talking about anything he wants to talk about that's related to Silent Hill and music. So, that's what we're doing. Maxie, what's up?
Hey, excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Silent Hill is definitely a series filled with amazing music, even past the original Team Silent games. So, Silent Hill 2 and 3 definitely being the big ones for sure. I'm happy to be here and talk about everything music.
All right. So we're doing any percent? Is that how we're running everything?
Yes, I will not be doing any RNG manipulation. I'm just going to be doing it real old school.
Okay, cool. And so that way we'll do like a fast run and we'll have time to, just hang out and listen to some of the tracks and go to different places that we normally don't go to.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, show off some cool stuff. So feel free to get started whenever you're ready. Give a countdown.
All right. Let's go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Silent Hill 2. Starting off with a nice little tune for the first cutscene. Very ambient and atmospheric and sets the mood. Mysterious.
Okay, I took copious notes. I already have to go in my notes. Okay. Okay. We're talking, there's lots of stuff happening. Basically, most of the soundtrack is actually made from a sample library. Back in the day, I guess we can talk a little bit about sample library stuff. So basically, it's a library of sounds and music and loops and beats that other producers and companies make. And then what you do is you buy the license for the library, and then you can use it in all your stuff. So with older games that didn't have as big of a budget, or if they're on specifically, like a lower budget, or there's one person working on it, that's a lot of times where they're going to be using samples for everything. So the composer for the game, Akira Yamaoka, was big industrial music fan and really liked something called trip hop, which was like European hip hop that never made it to the US, that was big in the 90s, that was really into like ambient hip hop with a lot of like female vocals or no vocals at all. Very cinematic, and that's like what he was going for. And then was also talking about how he wanted to go for industrial music because of the theme of Silent Hill being, you don't get that cool and rusty kind of feeling with normal instruments. So that's what they're using. So, this sample library, basically, you could go through this sample library. It's made by Spectrasonics. It was released in 1998. And most of the samples for Silent Hill 2 are actually off a library called Distorted Reality 2. So if you go down the list of all the samples they have in there, if you can find them somehow, you will see and hear some really specific stuff where you're like, oh, that's obvious, okay. Like, I think the Resident Evil 4 save room music, there's a loop that's on that's very prevalent that you can hear. So it's how he used the samples and what he was using the samples for is basically how the soundtrack is made. So for White Noise, which was that song, which was the beginning of the game, what happens is it is actually, I have so many notes.
Waiting for me.
So it's a sample, and it's using a minor ninth chord, which is technical for just basically being like a chord that never resolves and is very dissonant and has tensions in it. So basically it's going back and forth, and that's why he wanted to use that as the sample for that song, because it never resolves and it's the first song in the game, and that's why he wanted to use that. Yeah. Facts.
Big facts.
Okay. Things. Okay.
that was very well researched. Holy moly.
I have lots more to talk about. Okay, I skipped over a part talking about how the sounds are made and what the sample libraries are made. So, back in the day, or now, or whenever, you can make tracks if you want to and make sample libraries and, sell them and all that stuff. Basically, what it does is if you have a composer that's hired for a game, they don't have time to go and make all their samples or all their loops. So, they go and they get these libraries and then they mess with them. So, if you're someone like Hans Zimmer, who has all the time and the money in the world, then he literally has spent 10 years making his own sample library, not even to record with, just to demo with. And you can see this in videos he's made, and he's literally just been I think there was an interview recently he did for 60 minutes or something, where he was yeah, I finally got all the piano sounds I wanted and it's really cool. And then he literally just goes to his big library and just plunks it in. He's yeah, I started this 10 years ago. So not everyone has the time to do that, or is getting paid to do that, or, all that stuff. You can't, it's really hard to make the samples. It takes a lot of time. If you've ever tried to mess with changing synthesizers and stuff, Maxie, I don't know if you've ever messed with using a program and put a synth in and just messed with tools.
I personally haven't.
Okay.
But I've definitely watched many people do it, in front of me, on a computer. I've watched people fiddle around with it, so
and
I
you're
definitely know
woo, magic.
How weird, how weird and magical it can be. Exactly.
So it's funny because when you think about what you're doing, it's very technical, but really you're just moving figures around. If you don't understand what's going on, then you don't understand what's going on. And they're oh yeah, it's the, and then it just turns into jargon nonsense when you're, if you don't know what's going on. So, and we're not here to talk about jargon. We're here to talk about how things work, how things are made, why things are made, so everyone can understand. And little tidbits of information too. So, anyways. When I first had access to a program and a synth suite, I think I just was in my room messing with knobs forever and got maybe nothing done, but was just this is fun, and just being whoa, it makes it go low and it makes it go high. Wow, so cool. So basically, when you're trying to create a sample that you're using, that you're actually going to use, you need time. And you need time to walk away. You need time to be creative. You need time to actually come back to it later and see if you like it or not, or if it was an experiment. It's very experimental. You can go into actual room recordings or, out in the world, all that stuff. But what the people that made the library, okay, going back here. This is how the whole process of everything was done. So, the founder of Spectrasonics was a man named Eric Persing, who worked as Roland's chief sound designer and engineer. I think he started in '84. So basically, this guy made all of the. If you've ever played on an older keyboard, and they have the beats and it goes do 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 do, or any of those sounds. Basically, he was in charge of recording and making all those sounds. And that was his job. So he already had time to make those before he could make his cool experimental samples. So he was interviewed. I found an article from 2000 from Sound on Sound magazine talking about how they recorded some of the sounds. And here's a quote. Sound was created by letting 6 or 7 effects processors feed back on one another for hours, then coming in and changing certain send levels and then walking away. And it's all recorded on tape. Then they come back with fresh ears in a few months and edit the best bits. He also said that after completing all the editing and the computer work, Eric felt that something was lacking in the collection, so he ran the computer-generated stuff through analog filters and pedals and said that's when it really came alive for each specific library. And this was specifically, he was talking about the distorted reality sample packs. Yeah, so basically, it was basically putting a bunch of noise in a room, hitting record, coming back after you had your coffee, turning up a knob a little bit to make out of 6 a little bit louder than the other, and then they all kind of whoosh together to make some weird noise, and you recorded hours and hours of tape, and then when you completely forget about it, and then you're like, oh yeah, what did that sound like? Because you don't remember in your head, you have to like listen with fresh ears, what they call it. It helps so much. If you've never done that, if you ever mixed before and you're frustrated with what you're doing, walk away.
Yeah, I've done that many times with my drum kit.
Yes, walk away. Come back later, see how you feel about it. It helps so much, like your peace of mind. One of the biggest questions when I first got to music school was somebody asked, when is your mix finished? And my big time professor was just like, he recorded a bunch of punk and metal albums, and he was just like, when you stop mixing, that's when the mix is done. So it's not a specific sound or anything, it's when you stop messing around with it. So basically, then they would go in, and this all sounds like a lot of fun. Like, I wish I got paid to literally just like loop stuff, record it, and then just edit bits out of it and just be like, that's cool, let's send it to Hollywood and they'll use it for movies. You know, like,
that does sound pretty tight. Yeah,
that's a sick job. So basically, these set of library, like, it was hundreds of like albums, like packs, like literally a CD of samples of loops and beats, and they sent it, like, Hollywood used it on, like, you'll hear, like, it sounds, I feel like it's part of what the quintessential late 90s, early 2000s, like, sound for stuff is, and especially for horror games, because you have, like, it was such a boom, and so everybody, you know, like, didn't have, I guess, as much time and funding to, like, I mean, video games didn't even have that big of a budget, like, back then anyways, so you had, like, 1 to 4 people able to work on the soundtrack, and Yamaoka was doing double duty because he did most of the sound design for the game as well,
yep.
Which was also coming down to the sample packs. So basically what you're hearing is a bunch of synths, a bunch of noise being edited for the coolest parts, then going through pedals and pads and other stuff. And then Yamaoka would come in and be like, that sounds cool. I'm going to pitch adjust that. I'm going to pull it an octave down. I'm going to slow this down. I'm going to speed it up. I'm going to put it in the background. Any of that stuff. And then he's, you know, riffing on guitar or playing piano ahead of it, you know. So basically there was an argument that he's not a real guy, he's not making the soundtrack, because it was still in the era of, like, samples don't mean you're creative, and it's like, there's an argument for it, but then you think about realistically, this man was doing a job, and it is a cool creative job that influenced a lot of things, and he only had so much time to do everything.
Finite time, finite budget.
Exactly. So I think there is, I don't know, Maxie, have you ever worked, I'm assuming you've worked with other musicians and written stuff, and, you know,
yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah, I've paid for studio time to record drums and stuff.
Yeah.
So I know what it's like to be on that finite time.
Yep, and that is not the time where you write. You do not write during that time. That is time for recording.
Yep,
and
exactly.
Even if anybody ever else has been in a studio, what ends up happening is everybody shows up on time. Doesn't matter. You basically don't start recording for 3 hours. It doesn't matter, like, unless you're recording one instrument. And if you're recording a whole band, it takes forever. Just the setup of the microphones, just everybody getting a chill thing, talking about your game plan. It doesn't matter how, like, clean you can make it. Be like, okay, we're starting on the hour because we're paying $1 million for this. It's just, that's basically what happens. So then you have to, like, get in the groove of it, and record there. But yeah, even though there shouldn't be time for downtime when you're doing it, it always happens. Everybody's always, you know, like, doing their water cooler talk and be like, oh, how was that gig? Yeah, cool. I think it'd be really cool if we use this pedal in this song or whatever. And then whoever's paying for it is just like, come on, hurry up. And that's basically how studio session work goes when you book out like a day at a time or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, that whole spiel that I talked about is the basis for everything in the Silent Hill genre of games. It's based on industrial sounding samples that have been changed and altered and played with and messed with, and then you've put different effects over it. You put a melody, all this other stuff behind it. And there's even like literally sample packs called Atmosphere. And it's cool because the same Atmosphere track is used for a lot of the Silent Hill 2 songs, and then a different Atmosphere is used for a lot of the Silent Hill 3 songs. So it's really cool that they're two different samples that are being used. And basically it's just like a lot of background stuff, ambient noise, like wind and things. And so that's actually in a lot of the songs. So it's in like The Heaven's Night, it's in the background, it's in Promise. They're using the same songs. Yeah. There was one sample pack that was called Ghost in the Machine, and the cover art for it was a creepy baby doll in front of like a bunch of tape recorders. And that
sounds pretty cool.
And I was like, okay. And it was like I think one of the samples was literally like almost completely unaltered for Silent Hill 3, I think. That was in there. Yeah. Anyway, so if you have time or you want to go into, I hope some of this stuff is on YouTube where you can find these sample packs. But yeah.
I actually think there are a couple of YouTube videos that direct to pages with a ton of the samples.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely saw some of the. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's how you find it. I know that not the entire Silent Hill 2 soundtrack is available too. Like, not every single track is actually on the soundtrack, which happens
same with 3.
A lot. Yeah, it happens a lot, so it's not everything.
In fact, one of my favorite songs from 3 isn't on there, and I have the official soundtrack as well on disc.
When did you purchase the official soundtrack?
It comes with Silent Hill 3 if you get like a full-blown copy.
Nice.
And this was years ago, like around the time that I started streaming, which was like 2015.
Nice. Okay. Can I ask how much you paid for it in 2015?
Not much.
Nice. Okay, great.
Like, I mean, I think Silent Hill games are maybe 2-3 times as expensive now, so I'm thinking probably like 30-40.
Okay. Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah, for a really like mint copy.
I have a fun factoid. So the item pickup noise that we've heard a couple times is exactly one loop sped up and pitch adjusted from Fields of Motion library pack. It's called Diviner. So it's literally the sample, it's just adjusted. And so if you're ever wondering like how the sounds happen and all that stuff, it's cool because it's like inspired from loops, and then it's like how you create. So going back to being in the studio and writing with people too, it's really hard to write everything by yourself because you get in your head a lot and you start being like, is this correct? You going down. It's hard to do everything yourself. I'm a vocalist. I play guitar. So I write drums on the programs. Yeah.
And that's come a long way too, so.
Yeah, so I got really good at it. Listen, I did a lot of projects where I was just like, let me just adjust some of the knobs, and now it sounds real. Woohoo! And yeah, so it's really difficult to do everything yourself. So when you have samples that inspire you and things that you can add to it, it really, really helps. And obviously, if you're on a budget, like, you're like, oh, I need more noise. I bought this whole library. Let me put in some cool stuff. That sounds fun. Here you go. Woohoo! So, yeah, I personally think it's super creative. It gets my juices flowing in my mind juices, my musical mind juices in a certain way. Yes. Where I start to get really creative because I think about things like I can add to certain samples, how, all that stuff. So it definitely works for me in my writing process. So yeah. So we haven't heard that much music yet. That's totally on purpose because we need the music to hit when it comes in. And so there's a lot of silence in the game.
And it's we're getting pretty close to a really good song that we're gonna chill and listen to. So
cool. I'm happy. I went on a rant for 10 minutes to get us to this point. Woohoo.
Yeah, it was very well researched.
Yeah, I have more notes. So yeah. Okay, so what's the song we're gonna listen to?
We're gonna be seeing Angela really soon.
So I like that we're hearing this tape noise in the background too, which we weren't hearing before. Mm-hmm. That's cool. No, it gives you anticipation, knowing that something is coming up, or even just the feeling of being inside rather than being outside. So spooky.
All right, this cutscene is going to be really weird, but then it'll
Yeah.
clear up. I'm playing on backwards compatible PS3 because it's faster, but messes with some cinematics. But then once it gets to the in-game cutscene, we'll just chill and listen. There it is. We're good.
I'm James. Angela, okay. I don't know what you're planning, but there's always another way.
Really? But you're the same as me. It's easier just to run. Besides, it's what we deserve.
No, I'm not like you.
You afraid? I'm sorry.
It's okay. Did you find your mother?
Not yet. She's not anywhere.
Did she live in this apartment building?
I don't know.
So, all you know is she lived in this town.
What did you say? How do you know that?
Well, I
And then
just
there's the loop.
figured, because this is where you're
Yeah.
looking for.
And then it goes on, but you can just listen to it for so long because it's just that good.
Yeah. It
It's
has
such a simple
natural
song.
Yeah, it has such a natural progression to it too.
Mm-hmm.
Just a build-up over time.
Sets a really good mood too for that cutscene. Definitely one of the most infamous songs of the game for sure.
It also helps that it's there is a level of industrial mess that's spooky in the soundtrack. So it's nice that there are the ones that you can, listen to a bunch and sneak into, places where you might not necessarily know where to play them all the time. Like in your real life, you can play it in the background. So I work a lot of corporate events where you have to have music looping in the background. And sometimes we put, just some generic things in the background. Sometimes there happens to be video game soundtracks in there because nobody's really paying attention. So, yeah. yeah, so I like fitting things in, you know, I guess not where they're supposed to be, but where people don't expect them for soundtracks. Right.
So I am playing New Game Plus, and we just picked up, I've been picking up some New Game Plus items for specific endings and whatnot, but you can probably also notice that I have a chainsaw out. Yeah, that's just for fun. That's just for fun.
Okay.
We're gonna be,
There's no tech for the chainsaw. It's just cool.
well, I mean, it's only a tiny bit slower, but it's so much cooler. Look at that.
Okay.
Get to use the chainsaw.
Yeah, it makes the good noise.
And there's a little Easter egg behind it, too. Nope. Nope. Go the other way. Sir. There we go. Get out of here. That was weird. He's actually survived a chainsaw.
He needed a spooky poke. Goodbye.
He wanted more screen time.
Yeah.
Okay, here's
Got
the
that.
cool Easter egg, though.
It says... Yar. Yar.
James's battle cry.
Okay.
That just happens if you're near an enemy and James has the
Okay.
chance out, you just stand there and he just does his battle cry.
Okay, yeah, animation specific for it. That's cool.
And the classic siren in the background while Pyramid Head's leaving. Definitely a notable thing about Silent Hill in general is that siren.
I don't have any notes about the specific siren. I'm sorry. I'm a failure.
Yeah.
I should have known. I should have known like what the siren is actually from, what it actually indicates, if it's a real siren, what city it's from, any of those things. Nope, don't have it. Sorry. Should have looked it up. I'm sure there's somebody that's
fine.
gone down to the rabbit hole that knows exactly what everything from everything is. So that
for sure.
person, whoever you are, reach out to me and inform all of us about all the other stuff from a game from 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Because
there's definitely a lot of research on these games, but
yeah.
you know, sometimes it's kind of hard to pinpoint certain things. When it comes to like soundtrack stuff, I mean, you explained quite a lot. Most of the stuff I'm referring to is like story stuff, I suppose.
Yeah. So, yes. And you can give, because how many times do you think you've run Silent Hill 2 any percent?
That's the first game I ever learned how to like fully speedrun, like a full game. I think in Resident Evil 4 I was doing individual levels, so those were my first two speed games. So this one I've definitely done quite a bit.
Is this what got you into speedrunning?
Not necessarily, but it just so happened to be the first game I was like, you know what, yeah, down to run this one.
Okay.
But yeah, Silent Hill 2 I've played quite a lot of. I one day would like to make a history video, because I've been doing it since 2015 and so much has changed. So one day I'll do a speedrun history video for Silent Hill 2.
Did you perchance have the world record at one point for this?
For the console version, yeah, I had.
Okay.
I think it was a full sweep on the console records, but
Nice.
that changed drastically.
Yeah. But still, you know.
Yeah. That was my first. That was my first, world record. I was very happy to
Sick.
beat Ekudet's super old time.
Okay. So when did you get that time? And what does the time look like now?
I think it was like October or September of 2015, maybe.
Okay.
James, we met in the
Let me go
apartment
check
building?
real quick. We can listen to this song. It's really
I
good.
remember, but
This one's Alone in Town. It's a really good song. Classic bowling alley
Are you
tune.
alone here, Eddie?
no.
So yeah, 7 years ago, 46:29 was the in-game time, and now Aaron has the record at 43:06.
Okay.
And for a game like Silent Hill, that's a lot of time.
Okay.
So,
Laura, is that her name?
and that's mainly due to the fact that a runner by the name of Super Gamer.
How can you
sit there and eat pizza?
She said she was fine by herself.
A runner by the name of Super Gamer was like, "Hey, did y'all know that tank controls is slower than directional input controls?" And we were like, "No." So that completely changed Silent Hill 2 speedrunning. That was probably the biggest change ever for the history of the game. Was just
Okay.
random Resident Evil 3 runner just being like, "Hey, do you guys know that you can just use directional input and it saves like a couple minutes?" And we were like, "Oh, okay." And then, the next biggest discovery was RNG manipulation. And as you can see, I am using tank controls, and I'm not doing RNG manipulation, because I'm old-fashioned like that.
Yeah.
I'm old-fashioned like that.
Yeah. So
But
you
yeah,
were
that
talking
is-
about. Cool. You were talking about how you're playing on PS3.
I am playing on backwards compatible PS3. It's just faster
Okay.
for loading times,
Okay.
which
That's
definitely
specifically
helps a
why.
lot in a marathon setting.
Got it. All right. A little comfier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does this song play like the most in this? I don't know. I feel like I hear this one so much.
Heaven's Night?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hold on. We'll go back, and that was just muscle memory taking over there. I'll go back and listen to it more. Yeah,
So the
Heaven's
loop
Night
is really short. Yeah.
Oh wait, is it actually gonna play again?
Oh no. Rip. It's fine. We heard it.
No, there it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there it is. So Heaven's, this is probably one of the most infamous songs. It's chill, and it's just kind of nice to listen to for a while. But it also only shows up in one spot of the game, which is in the Heaven's Night Club here.
Yeah.
Club and bar and whatnot. Yeah, it's a really nice song, and just like Alone in Town earlier in the bowling alley, it's only used once in one spot of the game. It's a very short area. You don't really do a whole lot in the bowling alley. There's like a cutscene and an item, and then in Heaven's Night you get even less. It's just, here's the room. So,
yeah. So,
but it's such a good track,
Yeah.
and gives a lot of atmosphere. It's worth just sitting here for a little bit. It's almost like an intermission for the player to just stand in this room and kind of relax and look at stuff.
Yeah. It's not absolutely creepy. It's a
Yeah,
little
exactly.
strange, but compared to everything else you're going through. So the drum beat we hear in a lot of the different songs in the soundtrack are from a percussion loop library called Titanium Rhythms. Gee, I wonder who those were for. Maybe some industrial musicians. So it sounds like really, you hear the loops and you're like, okay, this is literally for industrial stuff. So it sounds really cool. Yamaoka was talking about how his favorite artists were a lot of, like I said, trip hop artists. So I think the most famous ones would be Portishead, and then what else? Oh, why? Okay, for anyone making notes and that you have to read from, make sure you color code or change the font, because I just have a lot of information on a lot of different pages that are just paragraphs. I did bad. This is not note speedrunning. This is me literally being an old person being like, what does that say? It's literally in 12 font, whatever. So yeah, that's great. Okay, Massive Attack was the other band. Cool,
Massive
great,
Attack,
awesome. Yeah. So you hear that a lot,
Portishead is definitely a huge influence, to the point where in Silent Hill 1,
yeah.
they legitimately just put a poster of Portishead in the cafe at the beginning.
Yeah. So if you listen to, I don't remember if it's definitely a song from this one, but it's definitely a song from Silent Hill 3. And it's specifically the bass tone that they use is incredibly similar to that used in Twin Peaks and of the time period. So it literally sounds like that. And Yamaoka had also said that Angelo Badalamenti, yeah, I can do that, who is the composer for Twin Peaks and a lot of other David Lynch stuff, was a big influence of that, and Big Daddy Trent Reznor. So.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying. There's a lot of aggressive drums that I feel like sounds like the Downward Spiral specifically, because it's not using as much reverb on stuff. So a lot of the different, I would say, more intense moments when you're fighting things reminds me of like some of the more later half songs on the Downward Spiral, where there's a lot more like aggressive forefront to a lot of things.
We're in the hospital, and that's definitely a section where the music that you hear when you're kind of encountering like the nurses and whatnot, and even the Flesh Lips boss fight, is very aggressive, very gritty, and like you said, has that industrial sounding drumming for sure.
I know that there's another big aspect to how Silent Hill 2 was meant to be consumed, and it's meant to be designed to be played on a CRT with the fuzz. So I know it's meant to, yeah. So it, for the people that don't know, it's the big old square box TVs that weighed 1 million pounds. It didn't matter like what kind it was, but it was, it was the TV for a long time. And there was a certain, they tuned it to like a certain, I guess, like ratio, but the game was specifically meant to be played on that, so that you get the weird feeling like now, where you can't tell if it's like reality or not because of like the buzz of everything. So I know that's like how you're supposed to play the game or consume it for the first time. It needs to be dark room by yourself, nothing else going on, CRT, good luck finding one. I know they're kind of cheap. Good luck trying to actually, like walking up your stairs.
Yeah.
And find the right connections for it. Yeah, but that's how it's meant to be played. We're lucky at for mainline GDQ events that we do have CRTs available all the time, and they are, I love that sound. They're available for people to play on. And I know we have like other game rooms that we can actually like play them on. So if you're around any of the GDQ events, we have CRTs, so you can play it on there if you want to.
Games
so I
done
know,
quick. We have CRTs.
Yeah. We have 20-year-old TVs. They are very hard to get rid of. You have to get a specialist or a specialist dumpster to put them in because they might contain toxins and they don't want you to dump it in your trash.
Whoa. That's so complicated. I might as well put it in my garage for the next 20 years.
Then you don't want to move it, so you're just playing it on the floor in your garage. You just hook it up, and then you're just like, this is perfect. The cold floor, nothing else. I'm just gonna sit and play this game.
That's so funny because there's so many funny memes of like people playing Silent Hill in like like an abandoned attic on like a little Barbie CRT.
Yes, I'm about that. Okay,
these are so funny.
So we can hear
a nice little ambient track here.
Yeah.
You know my name?
Very fitting with like the innocence of Laura, just playing with her, her stuffed animals.
How do you know about Mary?
What's the big deal?
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No, I won't.
Friends with Mary. We met at the hospital. It was last year.
You liar! Laura,
Yeah.
Fine.
Great song. Really very specific placement of all those little keynotes there.
And it's like, even you can hear the tones of it are even a little bit brighter. You know, you have a little bit more major key, but it never actually resolves to the, oh boy, it's a spooky.
And yeah, and then we get to this, and it just gets real intense. This music is very brutal. And even the sound of the boss kind of blends in with the track too, which is really interesting.
It's so nice to have. I mean, it's nice to have your composer and your sound designer be the same person. So you can literally be like, this fits with that, and like I need to add this to that. Like it's nice that they make sense together, and like you feel like the whole thing is complete when they're together.
James.
And like this track going perfectly with the siren, and somehow also going perfectly with James getting strolled. Like, what? The fact that that all fits together so well is kind of remarkable. But also...
Yep. See ya.
Okay, bye.
Someone was watching a lot of X-Files when they made this.
Oh, for sure.
It's interesting to think about like the time period it was made, and like, you know, how much 90s stuff is like, or, you know, like 2000s stuff is coming back into fashion now. To think about like the culture of being surrounded by like cool, creepy stuff for like a decade. You know, like having Twin Peaks and having X-Files be like two giant shows that everybody was like watching. I'm sorry, the cool people were watching.
Yeah.
And then you also have stuff like, you know, survival horror games and actually like creating that ambiance too. It's cool that it kind of like reflects off of each other. You know, like you see those like 90s cult movies too. Like I feel like Fire in the Sky fits in this. I don't know if you know about that one.
I don't.
Okay. It's I didn't know about it till a few years ago either, but basically it's like a true story alien abduction, quote unquote true story alien abduction. And it's like the whole thing is about the people that survived. Like one guy is gone and you see it like happen kind of, but then it's everybody being like, no, we promise we didn't kill him. Like true story on the true like trials, whatever. And then you see what happens to the guy at the end of the movie, and it's like one of the most dirtiest, terrifying alien abduction scenes ever. And it's very like 90s vibey, like wicked creepy. Like you can think that like alien and spaceships could be like really like gross and dirty, but it's very gross. So it's definitely worth a watch just to check out like the alien abduction scene.
I am
it's
intrigued.
Nuts. Yes, it's pretty nuts. So there's like definitely different stuff. It's cool to be like, you saw that everything was kind of a sounding board for like, oh, this person made this cool thing. I want to make something that's kind of like that too. And I feel like the horror games definitely fit into what was going on with media.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
And just think about where you're literally using like industrial music, which, you know, had its like big breakthrough in the mid-90s too. And this was the first, I think, series of games to actually use industrial music. And Yamaoka did it on purpose because he wanted it to sound like nothing else. He didn't want it to sound like Resident Evil. He wanted it to sound like its own thing in its own world. And that's why, I mean, it's nice sometimes when you just like know about a music genre that nobody else is using, and then you get a job, which is like, oh, I need to compose for some games. I happen to be listening to a ton of Nine Inch Nails. I guess I'm just gonna, you know, do that. So, and everyone's like, you're a genius. And it's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
But it's funny when it's like something that only like a subgenre of people have tapped into. And then you're just like bringing it to the forefront and being like,
right.
Like this is definitely an example of like the right time, the right place, the right tools for the right soundtrack.
Yep. And like even though Silent Hill wasn't nearly as popular, upon its release, it was very impactful, and that's why it's grown so much over the years in popularity, you know? And I think, I do think that the soundtrack and just the sound design in general is a huge part of it.
The other thing you have to think about is like the use of silence in the game and how much it's necessary. Because if you just had like ambient noise all the time, you would be like, oh, turn it off. You know?
Yeah.
You just be like, it's too much overload.
I think that is one of the big things about survival horror that I personally really, really love. Something that the horror genre has kind of lost sight of is how to use silence. Or at least, you know, mainstream horror games. But I do think that, you know, with the right minds coming together, I think you know, silence works wonders in a lot of situations in horror games in general. So. And then we have, I think, probably the most calming song. Oh, wait, did it stop playing? I think it stops playing in this room. Oh, no.
We heard 6 notes, probably.
Yeah, it's you know, post Maria getting killed by Pyramid Head, and you just have, like, this very chill piano in the background. Let's see if it comes back. Here it is. You know, it doesn't sound like you know, anything super special or anything like that, but
there's no atmosphere in the background for the song. It's literally just the piano.
It's just the song, and it's even though it's just piano notes, barely any piano notes, it just fits so well to kind of bring that impact of like the cutscene of you watching, you know, Maria you know, get killed in the elevator, and it's it's just really very simple, but has a lot of impact, and you know, a good addition to like how you're supposed to feel after that happening.
So I know we keep walking past enemies, and I always think it's cool that, like, you know, the sound like comes in when you're near them too, because, you know, it's so dark all the time. So it really helps with like
the radio.
The creepiness. Yeah. So it's like you have the radio going on, and then for a lot of the enemy noises, notoriously they are insect noises, and then like fruit squashing noises that are slowed down and like pitch changed, and that's what a lot of the noises are. Aliens and fruit. I said aliens. Yes. Insects or aliens. Duh. Okay. Anyways. Yeah. Insects and fruit.
Yeah, on that topic, there's a cutscene with Eddie, like, way back in the apartments. And if I recall correctly, it's him, like, throwing up, and they, instead of, obviously, instead of just taking, like, a throwing up noise, they actually had, I forget who it was, but they had someone on set just, like, spewing water into a bucket.
Yeah.
Which is really funny to think about. Because, like, it doesn't sound like that would work so well, but it really does sound like Eddie's thrown up.
Yeah. If you got the right bucket and the right amount of water.
The right amount of water, the right mouth movements.
Yeah. Yep. Foley is like a whole job that I wish I could, like, get into. I, like, literally be paid every day to go into the studio and be like, hey, you're gonna make Okay, maybe the eating wouldn't be so great because then you're just eating for like a 10-hour session. You're just making hamburger noises. Yeah. But yeah, hamburger noises, just chomping on that hamburger, matching, the mouth movements of somebody else for 10 hours doesn't sound great. And then you have to be like, and again, and again.
And again.
And one more time. Yeah, you need to put more tongue into that hamburger chomping, please.
More ketchup.
Yes, I need to hear your onion chomp. Thank you very much. But just like a lot of the creative stuff, I don't know how many people here are like movie nerds too. I'm gonna get really like down with some cool documentary stuff that you should watch. If you like Lord of the Rings, they really released like all the extended editions have essentially like a documentary about how they made everything that is hours long and is just so much content. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but they go into the sound design of so much stuff, and it's so cool to see the Foley work. It definitely opened my eyes when I was a kid to how things were done and how they were designed. So like, I know they talk about how like the Balrog is a lot of stones mashing on each other, is like how it's screaming is a lot of stone, which is like crazy that you can get like a growl out of stone.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it shows how like you layer a lot of things. So just if you're thinking about like behind the scenes stuff or like any Foley work, thinking about sound design, it's a great way of like really they go into depth. They talk about everything that you would understand as just a person that doesn't know anything about it. And yeah, it's really cool. And they're available like all over the place to watch too. So
yeah, I love Lord of the Rings.
yeah. I was lucky enough to have when Return of the King came out, they had the costumes and the weapons and all this stuff come to our our city local museum, and we got to see like everything in person, and it was incredible to be like, yeah, here's like the ring, and here's like all the chainmail and like all the weapons, and I was just like, here I am, yes, it's wonderful, I'm here, oh. Like it was just, it definitely like,
That sounds dope.
yeah, little middle school me just like set my career path into like much more of a creative zone, just having like certain moments like that. And yeah. So Mutt said I was a smart kid. Okay, for the record, okay, I see Wayfair Angel. Thank you for being here, I appreciate it. Wayfair Angel, I might have been a smart kid in school. I was an anime nerd that had no friends. So thank you. I sat at home watching movies with my parents. I had no one to hang out with. This is what happens. This is what you become. So, thank you. I appreciate that.
Your parents had good taste, though.
My parents did have good taste. Okay. I'll tell the story. Shout out to my mom. What's up, Mom? When I was maybe 7 or 8, my mom gave me 9 Inch Nails Downward Spiral on CD and said, here you go, you should listen to this. This is really good. And then took the lyric booklet out and said, don't pay attention to the lyrics. Here you go. And I said, okay, Mom, thanks. And I put my headset on with my Walkman, and I sat in my recliner, and I said, this is really cool. And I was like, it's like a movie. And that's what, yes. So.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I kind of had a similar experience where like my first real full album that I listened to was Incubus's Make Yourself.
Okay, yeah.
And so, yeah, I was very young. My sister got me into Incubus at a very young age, and it's like, I think she knew that I wasn't really going to understand the lyrics, and that's okay. And you know what? It was okay, and Incubus is still one of my favorite bands of all time. But I just think back at that, and it's like, that's kind of where my musical taste started. It's Incubus, and...
Yeah.
And,
it's funny. I'm sure your sister was just like, I've got them now.
Yeah,
And then,
for sure. Yeah.
And then just kept throwing albums. And I did the same thing with my younger brother and actually my whole family, because it's like my mom and my dad. My dad was really into pop punk. My mom was really into like electronic and 80s, like, you know, alternative stuff. And so we listened to like 90s stuff at the time. But then there was like a time period where we weren't really listening to anything new. And then I found the emo music. And then I was like, Mom, listen to this cool album. And then I was like, Dad, listen to this cool album. And then we all just listened to the same music for like my entire high school years.
For
and I would
sure.
just keep,
Wait. Define emo music.
Okay, we're talking about like, I would say screamo. Okay, we're talking 2004 and 5.
Okay.
Basically, that.
Okay.
Yeah. To the point where I was very lucky. I know where, okay, I'm going to count this conversation as relevant because we're going from 9 Inch Nails to this, and we're talking about like what gets you into stuff. And okay, anyways, basically, I was very lucky because my parents wanted to go to concerts all the time. I come from musicians in my family, and they put a lot of emphasis on the arts. And back in the day, we were able to go to shows for $15-20, and you can bring a family of 4 to a show for $15 or $20 on a Wednesday night. You know, like, and my dad would like, you know, get no sleep. But he always said, like, you gotta go to the show. Like, it's worth losing sleep to go to the show. And
For sure,
so I was very
yeah.
lucky. So I was consuming a ton of music. And one of the coolest things I still enjoy sharing music and finding like the great recommendations for somebody else, being like, hey, have you heard of this band? You really like them. And then they come back with notes. And they're like, even if they're like, it wasn't really for me, they'll give you a specific reason. And I love that. So it's like, okay, I can like cater to this, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. How was your, you know, influential music experience?
Well, you know, I think early on, as I said, my sister got me into a lot of the music that I liked when I was like super young, and that was primarily like 90s and 2000s, like early 2000s, just rock, you know, stuff like Incubus and 311 was definitely a big one too.
Okay.
But I kind of think over time, you know, I started kind of diving like backwards, and as I dive backwards, I realized that, you know, my parents being you know, older and being from England, it's like, well, classic rock, here you go. So
Okay.
that's kind of the next rabbit hole I dived into, was classic rock from England. You know, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and that was definitely a huge influence. You know, David Bowie, yada yada, all the goodies.
Okay.
And kind of over time, I thought to myself, like, oh, okay, like, I clearly just love rock music. I should maybe learn an instrument.
Okay.
So I learned how to play the guitar at, I think, like 14, 15.
Okay. Sounds about right.
And by learning to play the guitar and having, you know, like a guitar teacher who showed me a bunch of different music, that's when like a whole new library was kind of bestowed upon me, like hundreds of different bands, hundreds of different hits from every era. And then I finally listened to Tool, and I think Tool was probably the band where I was like, okay, forget guitar. Danny Carey's insane. I need to learn the drums now. And
Quote
so,
unquote, Tool is the reason why I stopped playing guitar.
Yeah. It's not that Adam Jones is bad, it's that Danny Carey is just a monster. He's literally one of the best drummers of all time. So I took all of that inspiration, got a drum kit. I think it took me about a year to not only be better at guitar on the drums, but I was far better at the drums than guitar by like probably tenfold.
Yeah, but that's really fast to like overcome years of. Maybe it's just you were excited about it, or it spoke to you.
I had an amazing drum teacher. Like,
Oh, yay.
he shouldn't have been sitting and teaching me drums. He should have been playing stadiums. Like, the guy was.
Wow. Okay.
The guy was actually incredible. But he devoted his life to teaching, and that's something I'll always remember because I respect it highly.
Yeah.
But he was amazing. He taught me very, very well, and I sat down and I practiced what he taught me, and that's basically how I got good at the drums so quickly. But of course, you know, the musical influence really early on from my sister, and also just like my parents having good taste in classic rock kind of mended together with that as well, because a lot of the things that he taught me were like, you know, time signatures, rudiments, when do you want to do a specific fill, you know, how do you fill space, how do you not fill space, how do you play back, how do you just fill a pocket, and stuff like that.
It's more like giving context for what you're hearing, and then giving you the language to play with other people with it. How
to control your space in the actual band, you know.
Yeah.
Just lock in with the bassist and let all your instruments kind of just do their thing. That's and so definitely spent years trying to like take that quick drumming learning that I got, and I try to put it into, you know, making some type of step into the music industry, which was so difficult.
Okay.
Because I was kind of stubborn about what I wanted to do with music. I think I was around like 18 when I started realizing that the genre of music that I started to get into way more was progressive metal.
Okay.
And that is...
I would suspect that from someone like you.
Yeah, it's...
Upon first glance, I
might
sure,
even
say.
Absolutely, yeah. So, you know, even though that all started with Tool, you know, it ventured into, you know, Mastodon and Opeth and Dream Theater and Liquid Tension Experiment and yada yada, you know, all these, you know, different bands. I could go on and on for hours about this subject particularly, but we don't have that much time to talk about that specific subject. But I will say that progressive metal made me want to make a progressive metal band, and so I did. I made four of them. I made 4 of them, and they went nowhere. But you know what? I'm glad I tried. It definitely opened my eyes to not only like what it feels like to play with other people and create songs that you're proud of, but it also kind of like the failure made me want to just be a better musician. And the last band that I was in, fun fact, if you would like to listen to a full album where I wrote and recorded and played all of the drums myself, I was in a band called the Dylan Fur Band, and we played some kick-ass progressive metal, and if you want to listen to that whole album, it's on Bandcamp under the name Juxtaposition.
Okay. Nice.
So that was like the last thing I did before I started streaming.
Yeah. That must feel great, though, to know that you have a full album out there, to be like, I put something out into the world.
Yeah, no, that is definitely like, you know, when I started streaming and streaming took off, I was like, all right, even though I'm definitely pivoting towards this, I'm glad that I was able to create that album before and play some cool shows. Like, I don't know if you know these names, but I actually opened for Angel Vivaldi. I opened for Polyphia, Intervals, Contortionist.
Okay. Yep.
Affiance.
Yep.
So
you could literally go on a whole conversation, because Polyphia is so big now, about like, Polyphia back in the day, and it's like I don't know what years you're talking about, but Polyphia has changed.
2015.
As well. Yeah.
2014, 2015. And funny enough, like at the show, they were swamped. You could tell that touring was taking a toll on them.
Okay.
And so they were very short to talk to. But then I met them again at NAMM, which is National Association of Music Makers. I think that's the abbreviation. I forget. But I met them again at NAMM, and they were super chill. I talked to them for a little while, and yeah, that was super fun.
Yeah, all my in school, or not even in school, when I was still just taking lessons, like I think everybody at the music studio where I took lessons, they were all like, we're going to NAMM. It's a big deal for like East Coast people too. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I notoriously went to a school or a music school, like not college, but learning an instrument with a bunch of like bass heads. So it was just like bass talk all the time. What up, bassist?
For sure.
So that's definitely like where like even my guitar teacher was a bass player. So it was cool to have like that kind of experience as well. Like even though I'm not, okay, I'm gonna say some words that are gonna cause some people to get a little angry. Even though I'm not the biggest Beatles fan, because I didn't listen to it growing up. That's why. My teacher was a big Beatles fan, and he taught me like how to listen to it, what I'm listening for, all that stuff. So it's more about like giving context to things.
For sure, yeah. No, I was in the same boat. I didn't really listen to Beatles that much, except for Sgt. Pepper's. So
yeah, I have I guess limited room in my head, and I don't necessarily need room for that in my head at all times. But yeah. Okay, so that's briefly talking about your, experience as a musician. What years did you say you were active? How long did, if you want to talk through, I know we're getting towards the end-ish of this, so this is definitely something we could talk about, in the next game as well, but yeah.
So I tried, like I said, I got into progressive metal, and I tried really hard to kind of make a band. So from 2017 to, I would say, or not 2017, sorry, 2012 was kind of the year where I finally just kind of stopped, because I had already made about 3 bands at that point. There was Helios, Somnium, and I think at that point I had also tried making another band called Critical, and that was kind of more of a cover band.
Okay.
Because that's just kind of how we all met. But I even made what's really funny? I even made a fake band
yes.
to play a gig. I made a fake band to play a gig with a bunch of people that I just knew. So we did a cover show, and we were I asked my friends, hey, you guys want to do a cover show? And they were we aren't even what is the show? We aren't a band. And I was just no, but we can be. And so I made up a name. We called ourselves the Bandoliers, and we played a fake gig. But anyways, that's the fun one. But the other ones, were very serious projects that involved aliens, clearly.
Yep.
And, like I said, Helios and Somnium were kind of my attempt to bring that progressive metal inspiration and just make some stuff of my own. And
his head's disappearing. Just
it's
straight
going.
up.
It's going.
Yeah.
And so I think with Helios, we wrote a full 8-song album.
Okay.
We played a show, and then my guitarist, because we were a 3-piece band, said that he didn't really want to do it anymore.
Okay.
And when you have a guitarist who has written all of the parts and is the only guitarist in the band, once that's gone,
you're
kind of hard to get those 8 songs back. You can't just have him teach someone else. It just doesn't work like that when you're that young, This is when I was 17, and it's
you don't know. Yeah, you don't know. You think that it's all gonna work out, and you're not prepared for. It's like your first romantic partner. You're this is it. It's gonna be great, and then you realize they're oh wait, it's not gonna work out. And you're what? That's a thing that can happen. And then going into the next one, you take notes, And, you know, it's basically like, you know, when a band breaks up, it's essentially like a romantic breakup as well. There's a lot of things that you realize you should have been doing, a lot of things you can learn from. And then it's a lot of social and people skills as well that you didn't realize you had to do when you were making music.
Yep. That's, I mean, I didn't even take notes for Somnium because I was just young and stubborn, and, that was more of a, I don't know, the guitarist that I was with, he was very inspired by a guitarist named Jason Becker, and he was very talented, and I wish I could have, you know, kept in touch with him after we decided to stop making stuff, because we only made like 3 songs, and then just couldn't find a bassist.
Okay.
And that was rough. And so, yeah, it's just like, you know, like I said earlier, you know, going through the failures of having bands fall out and stuff definitely just inspired me to become a better musician. And that's how Dylan decided to have me in his band, was because he saw that I was very, very devoted to my instrument and that I was very good at it. And he said that, like, you know, if you can learn all of these previous songs and then promise to be able to write, not just play, like, for sure, I'll have you. And he did, and that's how that worked out. But yeah, just having those few bands, and, you know, making those songs and then having them lost to the veils of time, was super brutal, because I would have loved to record that. That's like my biggest, probably, like, regret, is just not having that Helios 8-song EP recorded in some way.
It's
However,
out there, only
even
in a
if
few
it was
people's
even if it
brains.
was the worst recording ever, it could have been absolutely awful, but I would still be able to listen back. That was a fast briefcase code. I would be able to listen back to it and, you know, have those memories and maybe even recreate them nowadays. Because recently I invested in a full recording setup for my drum kit, which you can kind of see behind me. It's a bit dark back there, but.
Okay.
But yeah, I do have a full recording setup now, so I plan on kind of taking all of those songs I wrote with Dylan and doing covers of them, posting them online, and just, like, doing other songs too, and just kind of showing off my playing finally, because I haven't really ever been able to do that until recently. Last year, actually, is when I bought everything.
That's awesome.
Kind of just devoted like 7 years of my life to Twitch before being able to do something to kind of express that I've also devoted a big part of my life to this other thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice that you had, like, the failure of 2 bands actually push you forward into being a better musician, because so many times, like, people just stop playing, and it's so nice that everything has just, you know, like, that's literally one of the hardest things is, like, you could be an awesome player, but if you don't devote time to it, then you're not going to get better, you're not going to be better, you know, and it's so nice that you had that motivation for you. And
my
it's so nice
parents
that,
were very supportive of it too, which I'm very
Oh,
lucky.
that's great. I was going to ask that. There's a lot of, it's very 50-50 when it comes to a lot of musicians, a lot of full-time musicians as well. I do a lot of things with, you know, professional cover bands, you know, I live in the Northeast, we have a giant wedding band scene, and that's where a lot of work I do is, so I'm actually, like, playing and doing sound for these fantastic musicians who are gigging all the time doing covers, and they're so good. So I'm able to have these conversations with people all the time, like some of the best musicians you've ever heard, which is so cool. But they're doing gigs, you know, they're working 6-7 days a week. They're doing all the Christmas shows, and, you know, they're not necessarily doing original stuff, but basically I have a chance to ask them a lot of times since I get to know them, like, if their parents are supportive or not, and it's so 50-50 of being like, no, my parents absolutely hated it, or, you know, like, for example, me and you, where our parents were like, yeah, go for it. Woohoo!
Yeah, super, super lucky.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a family friend of mine is the one who bought the drum kit for me.
No.
Because my parents were like, he really wants to learn drums, and a family friend was like, you know what, I want to see it.
Aw.
I'm gonna get it for him. And I was like, no way, dude. And just like, I just like came home from school one day and just saw it. And I was like,
What?
is this mine?
Oh, that's magical.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Was it a practice kit or a full kit?
It was a full kit. It is still the kit I have today. It is it's like a prototype PDP X7, like when PDP were first doing like their X7 models.
Okay.
And an X7 just means it's a 7-piece kit, so it's got an 8-inch rack tom, 10-inch rack tom, 12-inch rack tom, 14-inch floor tom, 16-inch floor tom, and a 14-inch snare, and a 22-inch bass drum. Oh,
Okay.
so he got me the big thing, and I was whoa.
And that's your first kit.
That's
with
my first kit, and I've kept it
essentially. That's
all these
nice
years.
because you didn't have to Frankenstein more toms in because you were getting more into prog. Like, that's really nice that you had like essentially what you needed there. Like, I'm sure you've gotten like certain upgrades and, you know, like, yeah. I guess we can get a little nerdy about your cymbals too if you want to talk about them.
So the original set of cymbals that I had, I went with like really just basic, like super cheap Zildjian cymbals, and I was okay with them. But, you know, over time, you start to get sick of them. In a way, like it's hard to describe exactly what that means, like get sick of the cymbals that you're playing, but it's not that they get like wear and tear, it's that you start to realize that cymbals are very diverse. They're very diverse in the way that they sound, and so over the years I upgraded to like Zildjian A customs, and I even got a couple of like K custom prototype cymbals, and they were very expensive and I had to save up for them and stuff. But now I have a full set of Soultone cymbals, which is not like a very super well-known company, you know? It's not like your Meinl or your Pisces or your Zildjians or whatever. But I have a full set of those. I have a I have a 14-inch set of 14-inch hats, prototype hats. 17-inch Brilliant Crash, 18-inch Gospel Crash, 21-inch Prototype Ride, 17-inch Brilliant China. I have a 7-inch Splash, I have an 8-inch Splash. And then I have a Stack, which is a 14-inch Ozone Crash on top of a 12-inch Custom Brilliant China.
Okay.
And I know that that kind of sounds a bit
Very
alien
jargony
to some of you, but but this is also quite alien. All right, that's the first ending I wanted to show off.
Great job.
More goofy, and has this silly, you know, like trumpet song
it's
going
slightly
on.
Agatune too.
Yeah,
Gone through. Yeah. Yep.
It's super weird.
So actually, the way that you do that is literally with tape on an old tape machine. You literally like can change it and like pitch it differently, and so that's why like. You know, and there's like tape static that's definitely added to that too. And that's what it's like, you know, when you have old timey things and that's why it's like warped, it's because the tape is actually being warped. But it's something that's very easy to do on a tape machine. Yeah.
That is super cool.
And it's so funny. So for I guess people that like music out there, what's something that a lot of producers are doing nowadays is because sounds are so clean and music is so clean, we're adding plugins for tape sounds into most music, and I am very guilty of it as well, because it sounds real good. So we've literally taken the technology to be digital, to be nice and clean, but it doesn't sound comfy or warm enough, so we just put the tape sound back in. And you hear it on a lot of records, and you might not recognize it, but sometimes it's definitely the thing that's like missing from certain things. So yeah, it's a really goofy process, but there's definitely a lot of like tape noise and just doing some dancing. Yeah. Maxie, do you lift your elbows first when you need to like walk sideways? So,
I do not, but James sure does.
Yeah.
Yeah, this song's classic. I think this room associated with this song is definitely how most people remember this song. Like it's this room right here. Yeah, it's such a good song. Such a good song. But let's move on to an even better song. Well, okay, maybe not an even better song, but definitely a very beloved song, and the second ending that I'm going to be showing off, which is super fun.
That once again, oh yeah.
お前の仕業だったのか。
Everybody loves the dog ending with its goofy low credit song. The classic. The irony is that I have my best cat dad ever mug today.
Yeah! You want to talk about your cats? Cats?
You know, I love dogs, but I am definitely a cat person for sure. We have a cat named Biddy, which is the same name as my partner's username, so sometimes people get that mixed up. But yeah, we have a little kitty named Biddy, and she's getting old, but she is just so loving and adorable and
yeah, supportive of your drum playing.
No.
Oh no. Okay.
She's very skittish.
While we're on the subject of animals, did you know that cats can listen and understand and feel music, and dogs just go bark? Yep. Dogs have no idea.
That's a thing? That's crazy.
Yes. Yeah. So dogs can't actually understand what's going on with music, but cats can actually enjoy music. So, fun fact.
That is something I did not know.
Yep. Okay, so speaking of this song, I just did a flashback to my 90s childhood. It is Christmas time. So anyone who needs some Christmas music to just, that's kind of sick of what they're hearing and needs to hear like some other cool stuff, I want to do a shout out to Jingle Cats. You should look up Jingle Cats. We had them, I think there was maybe 2 or 3 cassette albums that my dad played in the car, and that was the only Christmas we were listening to. And it is literally MIDI files like that of cat samples singing like "We Wish You Merry Christmas" and stuff. It's excellent. There are dog ones too. It's all the stuff that you can think of. If you need to change a pace in your Christmas music, definitely look up Jingle Cats.
That sounds so adorable.
It's really silly. Like, you will keep laughing. You know, it's like away in a manger. It's everything, you know, that you can think of. Jingle Cats. Yes. Okay, I'm seeing people in the chat that said they do understand Jingle Cats. They have seen Jingle Cats before, so it's not just me like having like Mandela effect, being like Jingle Cats existed. Like, no, I promise Jingle Cats exists.
All right, so now we're done with the silly ending stuff.
So this song is a really good example. You hear that?
Yeah.
That's tape noise. So that's literally taking the track, it's printed on the tape, and then just adjusting the speed of the tape. And that's what it is. Yeah, and it's super easy. So just if you think about that, like you've printed what you need on your tape, and then you're literally adjusting the speed back and forth on the tape, the recorder player, and then you are putting that back into the computer and recording it like that. And that's what that is. So it's also super interesting because like that, like up, down, just like the 2 chords or even just that, which was just used with tape delay, is like the whole theme of most of the songs for Silent Hill 2, is it's like 2 chords going back and forth, like an up and a down. And it's cool that they're able to do that in a bunch of different ways too. So it sounds terrible.
The noises here are like super weird.
Swamp basement bar with shrieking noises. Yeah.
Yeah, not comfortable.
Just get out. Yeah. Everything's on fire. Yep. Or is it?
And then we have the return of that classic song. We did just listen to it for a bit, but this part of the game's really cool. There's a lot of like symbolism going on here. I'm not gonna go super into it, but yeah.
That's for a different thing. We're talking about the music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But still, that piano, it just hits. Oh, James.
He's like, no, I have to go back and listen to the music.
Gotta go back.
So you're hearing these noises in the background. There's like reverb on them, all that stuff. That's definitely part of the sample loops that you're hearing. You know, it's just like layered on it, where it is in the mix, all that stuff. So it's cool. There's a lot you can do with it.
We're just gonna do this the normal way.
Okay. Generic ricochet gun noise. MP3.
You need to go. Sometimes Pyramid Head can do that. He's just like,
are they
hey,
T-posing too?
They are kind of T-posing, not exactly, but like close enough.
Okay. It's creepy when it's Pyramid Head. Yeah, it counts. It's fine. They were like, why put more effort in? They probably like adjusted the models and they're like, no, this is it.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry, Miki, we will. We have a few more endings.
Mary?
What do you want, James?
I brought you some flowers.
Flowers? I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home already.
Mary, what are you saying?
Look, I'm disgusted.
So,
I don't deserve
the way that the
flowers.
endings kind of work is that they all have their different songs, and in order to get different endings, the 3 that you can get on New Game, which is Leave, In Water, and Maria, is kind of random in a speedrun sense. So we're going to find out what exactly we're going to get. It's going to be a surprise.
literally just a 2-sound loop.
Oh, right, I don't have ammo. I forgot about that. That's fine. Give me a handgun, whatever. This'll work. There we go. All right. I actually don't know which ending this is. You can kind of tell based on the cutscene, but I just kind of couldn't. I couldn't tell. Okay, skip this. And okay, it was Leave. We got the Leave ending, so we'll listen to this song.
Okay.
Which I prefer, personally.
Classic fade out.
Little fade out, yeah.
Okay.
I love that song. That's definitely one of my favorite credit songs. I definitely prefer it over the In Water ending, but I mean, In Water ending song is still pretty badass. But I really like this one.
I think the drum loop was the same. They just added a fill and a crash at one point to change up the sections, and it was the exact same thing. So I should have been like, "You go play this right now." Like, you'd be like, "You got it. Okay, it's the same thing over and over again." Yeah, there was like 4 guitars in there. It sounded very much like it was like just playing on like a Stratocaster for a lot of it too.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, very
pretty
indicative,
pretty
yeah.
clean tone until you get to like that a kind of like heavier ending section there. And they hit the distortion.
Oh man, hit that peckle.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool because like definitely the solo didn't sound too dated too for a 20-year-old song, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Like it had pretty good like clean tone to it. So it's nice to see, you know, like
Yeah.
hear things again in context and, you know, think of things when they're indicative of the time or not. And that one doesn't seem, honestly, like, besides it being a drum loop, it doesn't seem that dated, I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. Good note choice, good tone. Oh, it's this. So now we're gonna go for a kind of a more scripted-esque ending. Once you pick up the 4 items that you need to get the ending, it is locked in. Can't get any other ending once you pick up these 4 specific items, which is the White Chrism, Book of Crimson, Book of Lost Memories, I think, and the Obsidian Goblet. I think that's all of them. I'm somehow going the wrong way.
The water tone dripping sample is so nice. Like, it's panned, so you hear it left and right, directly towards you as far as you can get it, and so it sounds like it's like coming from the pipes at your head, which is so nice.
It does sound pretty cool.
Yeah.
Masterful sound design, truly.
It just points out, like, I feel like this is a great example of, because there's so much space and stuff and a ton of layering, it shows that if you have the correct execution, it doesn't matter, like, how old things are, you know, or, like, you know, it's just, if you have the correct, it's all about the way you use it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Angela. Bye, Angela.
I am.
Just one. Yeah, the like every single terrain has like their own footstep noises, but it's just a couple. So it's nice variety in terrain, at least. Yeah.
I am.
We'll use the chainsaw this time, just for fun. Yeah, take that, Pyramid Head.
Yay.
Oh, no, it's okay. They're dead, James. It's alright. Stop revving. You're good.
Okay, I'm gonna be picky. Rug foot noise is not great.
Mary?
What do you want, James?
I,
Like the boss room.
brought you some flowers.
No, just
Or
this.
this one, yeah.
Want
It's just
any
continue.
damn
You know,
flowers?
it's not.
Just go home already.
It's fine.
Mary, what are you
But
saying?
if we're getting picky,
I'm disgusting. I don't deserve flowers.
However, the reverb of all that dialogue was fantastic, so we can forgive the foot noise.
James looks so funny running sideways with a chainsaw.
He's like, ha-cha, cha, cha-cha, ha-cha, cha-cha-cha, ha-cha, cha, cha-cha, cha-cha.
Look at him go.
It's like, don't pay attention to it, clipping through the bars.
Oh my god, where's my shotgun? Okay.
Can you do it in 3?
Alright, here we go.
Yeah! And 1 for good measure. Always got to double tap.
Alright, that is the last thing I'll do for Sound Hill 2.
Okay.
So
And
we'll
whatever we get, yeah.
We'll just enjoy the rebirth ending song. Definitely one of the better songs, in my opinion, in the whole soundtrack. I'm a big fan of it. So that is Silent Hill 2 finished.
All right.
You look so peaceful. Forgive me for waking you.
So we call time
without you,
at the end of when we
I
hit
just
credits?
can't go on.
Yeah, that works.
I can't live without you, Mary. This town, Silent Hill. The old gods haven't left this place. And they still grant power to those who venerate them.
I like the little swishy water now noises.
Power to defy even
James
death.
paddling out.
Mary.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. That's such a great example of actually like what the trip hop sound is. It's so cool because the drum loop ending is actually part of the beat. So like you have the cutoff of the end of the sample where the cymbals cut off, and that's actually like part of the emphasis into the beat too, which is so cool.
Yeah, and there's so much going on in that song too. You got like the vinyl scratches, you got the flute solo at the end. Like,
yeah.
It's just all over the place.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
why not a flute? All right. So, yeah, why don't we take a little break while we get set up for, did you do a good job? Are you happy with this? And you say
Oh, yeah, no, showing off all 4 endings. Yeah, no, this was super fun. And
okay, cool.
Like, it's a totally good time too for like just stopping and listening to songs as well. Like,
yeah. All right.
And the old school route, like, yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's
cool.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so we're gonna just take a little break. Everybody stretch and take a little potty break and make sure you're hydrated, all that fun stuff. We're gonna get set up for Silent Hill 3. We're doing the same thing. Go through a couple endings, listen to some of the music, listen to, talk about the sounds, talk about, some other cool stuff. So stick around. Thank you. Welcome back to Face the Music, where we're talking about all things music related, and we're showcasing some Silent Hill stuff today, which is some cool industrial things. Before we get back into, smashing some chains against a wall and all that other loopy, weird noises of cool, awesome, and creepiness, I have a few things to talk about. First, that you would like to submit, go to gamesdonequick.com for more information. If you missed out on any of the other Hotfix shows, be sure to check out the VODs on youtube.com/gamesdonequick. And your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. If you enjoy watching speedruns daily, consider subscribing to the channel. All right, so we're going to showcase Silent Hill 3 now, and we're going to switch it back over to Maxie and get straight into the run and listen to some cool stuff.
Yeah. So, first thing to listen to is this very interesting main menu music.
Tones.
Which is
lots of tones.
Very different from Silent Hill 2's just kind of silence. Silent Hill 2 doesn't have any music on its main menu, but this game does. So we're going to put Princess Heart into the typewriter there. Because we're going to be doing some New Game Plus stuff. We're going to be having some fun with that. So, let's start in 3, 2, 1, go. And that was the Konami code.
Okay.
Which is a little throwback to the Silent Hill 2 dog ending.
Yes.
Which is really funny. The only reason I do the Konami code is that I'm just used to doing it now, just for fun. It doesn't really do anything crazy special. It just makes it so that Douglas's shirt and pants are missing.
Okay.
Which just makes him look like a fool.
Okay.
Makes him look like a fool. And then, obviously, this game has an incredibly good opening song that a lot of people will recognize. Very good at, setting the tone at the beginning of the game. And we'll just kind of, chill and listen to it for a little bit, because it's just that good. Go check out this big van here. How did they park here? How did they do it? Classic End of Small Sanctuary. Definitely one of the most notable songs in the Silent Hill 3 soundtrack.
Yeah, it must be nice to be a guitarist and then get paid to just mess with pedals for a long time.
Yeah.
Sit at your desk, mess with pedals, record it, get paid.
A lot of cool pedal work for sure.
It's funny because it definitely gave me some of the like anime vibes for that. Honestly, the guitars, like the way it sounded, which would make sense because if you were in like the Japanese scene at that time too, like, you know, once again, everything is like a mirror of itself, you know, like everything influences everything else. So you think about like the time period of when the game came out and what other media was around, and you hear everybody borrowing from somewhere else. Love the slappy noise. Oh, wet slaps. Oh, feels so good. Just start right off the bat. Just uncomfortable level, just getting up there already.
Yeah, the sound design behind the enemies in Silent Hill 3 is definitely up there. I think Silent Hill 3 is probably like, I think a lot of people agree that Silent Hill 2 is, you know, a masterpiece, but Silent Hill 3, production-wise, is very, very top-notch. Very
What I like
refined game.
Is all the train stuff, and all the train stuff being in different places too. So you just have train noise, and yeah, okay. Great.
Yeah, I forgot to mention laser beams coming from my eyeballs and
Why
stuff.
not? I actually don't know the story behind this costume.
Oh, this is Princess Heart. This is an unlockable costume after you kill a certain amount of enemies, and then you like find the code, and then you put it in the typewriter at the main menu, and you get this.
Okay.
It's pretty dope. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of this one. Silent Hill 3 does have like the best new game plus of the originals, so. Okay. I was checking to see if we got the manipulation, but fun fact, backwards compatible PS3 can do something that no other version of Silent Hill 3 can do. Which is have this code be the same code every single time you boot up the game at first, on your first, like, startup.
That helps.
It is a serious pay-to-win problem that I am totally all for, because I've been running on backwards compatible PS3 for a while, and
Yeah.
it was only until, like, a few years ago where I was asked, like, hey, so, how do you already know the code for the door? And I'm like, well, you see, I have this console that just does that. And everyone was like, oh, that's weird. Yeah.
It's cheating. You have money
Guys.
privileges.
Money privileges. It's funny, because I got this backwards compatible PS3 like forever ago, and it wasn't that expensive, but now,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Now it's absurd. It is absurd. To be fair,
yeah, go ahead.
you know, I do have like quite a few pretty expensive games in the horror genre now, just because like I've been, you know, trying to just not really collect, but I've definitely snagged some stuff over the years, and yeah, it is getting pretty wild out there. It's getting pretty wild.
Okay, so we have the same radio noise, which is cool. It is literally the exact same one. But now we just have layers of monster sounds, and they're all different, which is cool. And it's also in a different reverb soundscape, because technically the ceilings are higher where you're at, which is cool. I know for a fact that they used a different atmosphere background for a lot of for Silent Hill 3 too than they did for Silent Hill 2, which is great. So it feels different. Anyways, how did you get into running Silent Hill 3?
So Silent Hill 3, honestly, when I started speedrunning with Silent Hill 2 and RE4 original, of course, I just grinded those two games for so much time dedicated to both of those games, and obviously, like, when you're new to speedrunning, it's an exciting thing, and it takes longer for you to burn out, but you will eventually kind of burn out. So I burned out, and I was like, all right, I need to take a break, but I didn't want to take a break from speedrunning. I just wanted to take a break from the games. So that's what led to me kind of branching out to a bunch of different games. And I just thought to myself, like, I run Silent Hill 2 already, like, might as well just run Silent Hill 3. Like, I love this game as well, and its movement is nice, and the run seems fun. So that's how I got into running Silent Hill 3, and I got pretty good at it. again, like held all the console records and stuff like that, but
Was that around the same time?
Silent Hill 3 has changed a lot. I actually did a world record history video of Silent Hill 3 if anyone's interested in watching that on
Nice.
YouTube's, but yeah, no, super fun game. I think this game is probably one of the better speedruns in the series. And also, I'm gonna do an out of bounds trick here to skip a portion of the mall. But in order to do that, you have to use the Princess Heart key. So we're gonna watch this once.
Just so many sparkles.
Yeah, this game's sick.
I just picture the devs literally just like laughing, and they're, you know, while they're just like, yeah, and then we'll do this, and then she'll transform, it'll be great, and then Yamaoka's like, I got the perfect thing for that. We're gonna use so many sparkles, like yeah. And it was just like such an insider joke, and then they're like, hopefully it hits. Who cares? What's our game? Like yeah.
I love it. So, like, I'm trying to play that cutscene that we just watched at the same time as going through this loading trigger.
Okay.
That's essentially what I'm trying to do, so it's going to take a few tries, because it's a bit precise, but I think I just got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so you hear that little item noise? That's how you know you got it. And now we're going to end up in the void.
Yeah. Where she
silence
belongs.
and footsteps.
Okay. Let's listen to the good footsteps. Okay.
Okay.
It's 2 bars. It's 2 bars of. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the loop, but it's better. That's a longer loop than the other ones.
True.
It sounds really good too. It definitely sounds like a woman's shoe. I'll take it. You know.
Yep, like a boot.
Yep.
All right.
It's
so
funny when you. Yeah,
go
ahead. Yeah.
There's the mall. We did the skip. We did it. Woo! Sometimes it's kind of weird, like running in the void because you can't see anything. It's all just like memorizing which direction to go without really any visual cue.
I wish your head bobbles were sticking out through the floor.
Little head bobbles. I forgot exactly what those are called. There's like a name for them.
Antennae.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you held the world record for this game for a minute. Was that like, how long did it take you to like grind up to that? Because it sounds like you're pretty good at grinding up to world records.
I think Silent Hill 3 didn't take as long, if I recall correctly, because I mean, once you start speedrunning quite a bit, like you learn games quicker, you know, you get better at it, and yeah, I don't think it took me too long, but there was a good amount of competition after I got records, so I always just kind of kept coming back to the game, and
you're pushing the category forward. All of a sudden, it's popular
exactly,
now.
yeah, with other people as well, you know, and they were fun to run against and whatnot, and then eventually, once your speedrun library gets as vast as mine does, you kind of find that you are going to commit yourself to a game at a time, and you just don't have enough time to commit to more than a few games sometimes, so you just kind of stop running the game.
As someone who has because you've been seriously speedrunning for like 7 years, you said?
I think 8+ now.
Okay. And you have a ton of different runs just in your library that you've submitted and all that stuff. Do you, and I know you do marathons as well, where you just play a bunch of different games. Does you go straight into like, you pick up the controller, you play the game, and immediately muscle memory takes over, and you're just like, I got this?
Yeah, some games are like that for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Is there I was just thinking about like the other day, I was literally playing I think I went from playing Baldur's Gate to World of Warcraft, and I was just like, no, the clicks are different. You know, like it's you interact with the right, not the left. Like and just that alone was like, oh, it's gonna take a while. Or like switching from like a Nintendo game to, you know, like an Xbox or a PlayStation game where your select is like a different, you know, is whatever, like circle or X or whatever. You know, they're backwards. And I know you can switch them in a lot of games. I understand that, but just that alone is just like, now I was just playing this game for 30 hours or whatever, and now I have to switch over. You know, it doesn't take over as much. So I was wondering what your experience is with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are definitely some games that are so different from one another that you feel weird, like, going back to it or switching from like, one game to another. Most notably, games that have different interaction buttons, for sure. Like, those are...
Okay.
Those
it wasn't just me. Okay.
No, it's not just you. Yeah, no, I speedrun, like, a couple of, like, first-person shooters and first-person horror games in general, and... You know, the interaction buttons and, like, the menu buttons and like, whether you have to, like, click to hold or just click and all those, like, little things that go into interactivity in a game make speedrunning multiple games like that a little difficult, yeah. And if you're wondering why I'm killing enemies, you have to kill a certain amount of enemies with the Heather beam or the sexy beam. Preferably the sexy beam, it's cooler. To get a certain ending, so that's why I'm doing that, if anyone's wondering.
All right. Yeah, so do you want to talk about your history with GDQ?
Yeah, you know, the first GDQ run I ever did was actually for another game that has an amazing soundtrack, was Jet Set Radio.
Yeah!
I ran that at SGDQ 2016, and it was my first ever run, and obviously so nervous. It was like 8 in the morning, I hadn't slept. It was a time, but the funniest thing about it is a story that I've told on GDQ before, is that when I did that run, I told them, like, hey, Jet Set Radio sometimes can crash.
Yeah.
And if it does crash, like, don't worry about it, I'll just boot it back up and I'll just redo the level. Like, my estimate is taking account for that. But the gaming PC crashed on where I thought it was going to crash, and I was like, okay, no worries.
Okay.
But I couldn't click anything.
Okay.
So I couldn't restart the game, and I couldn't do anything else, and I remember Vol'jin coming over to the gaming PC and being like, hey, what's going on? And I was just like, I can't do anything. And he was like, all right, turn it off and turn it back on, and we'll get it back going.
Yeah,
so turn off the gaming PC, and bam, the streaming PC blue screens. So I'm sitting there like, all right, this is going great. this is good. But after all of that, I continued to do the run, and it was super fun, and it was well received. And I kept my cool through it all, even though I was super nervous. And you know, when I got back home and I rewatched it, I was like, oh man, what a mess! What a mess!
There's nothing you could do.
And there's nothing I could do about it, and they understood that. But I thought it was really funny because in the back of my mind, I was just like, there's no way they invite me next event, right? Wrong.
It's not your fault, yeah.
Wrong. They invited me the very next event to run Devil May Cry. And I was just like, okay, let's go. So AGDQ 2017, I ran Devil May Cry.
Okay. Which I was going to talk about some fun facts just about. I'm 100% doing a Devil May Cry episode too. I just have to figure out how I want to do it. Like it gets me so amped. But we were talking about the sample bank, and because of Devil May Cry's, you know, how it came into being, it shares the same sample bank as Resident Evil 4. So when you hear the loop music for the save game, like the background kind of up and down music, it's actually in the Devil May Cry loop too, in the background too, which is really cool. So it's like, once again, like another part of those games being developed at the same time being one game that's split into multiple it translates to the music as well. I thought that was so cool. So, yeah. Okay, so 2016, you prepared them for the crash. It crashed harder than you could have crashed.
Yeah.
But it went really well. And they really liked you. And that must have felt really good as somebody, you said you went like full-time streamer in 2015. So to literally have the next year or two, literally have like a well-received, like, on like a quote-unquote big stage, like,
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
like, yeah.
It felt
Nice.
really good, and when I got
Okay.
invited to do Devil May Cry, I was like, "Oh man, all right, this is serious." Because Devil May Cry is back when I started running Devil May Cry in 2016. That game was not only way less marathon safe than it is today, but it's also just the hardest game I had learned to speedrun at that time. So when I got that
Yeah,
in, I was
you
like,
can't
"Oh
be
boy,
bad.
all right."
Yeah, you can't be bad on stream. It's not just about the time. You can't be bad. You're gonna get so much hate if you get
Oh
your
my
bad style
God.
points.
It's you got to get those S ranks, which was a big meme in that first run. Even if you didn't
Okay.
need an S rank, everybody be like, "Where's the S rank?"
Yep.
That was pretty funny. But yeah, that run went pretty well, and
Was that
Yeah.
like early in the morning too, or?
no, I actually got like a prime time slot. I was
Yeah.
stoked. I was like, "All right, dude, this is sick." I think it was I think it was like maybe 8 or 9 p.m. Around there.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
prime nighttime, which is
Yes,
which is good
active
for me.
time for everyone. Yes.
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a ton of fun. And I think I didn't run another game until SGDQ. Oh, did I not hit the thing? I think it was SGDQ 2018, which is when I ran Fear.
Okay.
Which was like the first super, super broken speedrun that I had learned. Like just glitches galore. And that was super well received. So I think after those 3 runs, not only did I show that I had a lot of good variety in my library for, events and marathons and stuff, but I also had, after that 3rd run, I felt pretty comfortable. Like I had experience, I wasn't going to go on stage and, pee myself in nervous fashion. But it just started getting more comfy, and I started getting to know people better as well. I think GDQ, going to GDQ every year, twice a year, was a good way for me to kind of just meet new people and kind of get to know the staff better as well, behind the scenes. And then I think it was 2019 AGDQ, I ran Devil May Cry again? God, I'm like, my memory isn't really serving me very well now. I must admit, it's
all
getting,
mushes together. It's fine.
It's mushing together a little bit. But 2019 I ran
Something.
I'm pretty sure it was
yeah.
Devil May Cry, and then after that it was AGDQ 2020 I ran Fatal Frame,
Yeah.
and then AGDQ 2021 it was Resident Evil 7 End of Zoe, or no, it was Fear again. It was Fear again.
Okay.
And then it was Resident Evil 7 End of Zoe. Then it was Lord of the Rings Return of the King.
Okay. I remember that.
And now it's Granny Then Anthology coming up
Yes.
January 16th. So that is like my full list of runs that I've done at GDQ.
What's your time that you're playing as of right now?
Like 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, and 4 a.m. GMT.
Okay. I might be hanging out with you for that one.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm I'm gonna be running audio for a lot of the midnight hours of the wee hours in the morning. Yeah, so I'm excited to see the cursed runs. Yeah. Speaking of horror games and GDQ and all that stuff, I had the utter privilege of running audio for Homepour,
Oh God.
which is literally for everyone out there. It is Homecoming and Downpour being played at the same time. you pick up one. You could probably explain it a little bit more better than I can.
So essentially, Downpour has unskippable cutscenes, and the unskippable cutscenes are there's just so much time of unskippable cutscenes that you can play Homecoming during those cutscenes and beat Homecoming before you can even beat Downpour.
Okay, so what I had to do is, so it was Speedrunning, and what you have to do is, on the audio desk, you're switching what game audio is going on at the time. So literally, I had just paying attention, being like, figure up one, figure down, figure up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, the whole time. And it was so funny. And it was so funny afterwards because Schmilber was just like, I didn't realize it was going to be this so stressful on you. I'm sorry. And I was like, hey, it is what it is. So we had a good time. But it is really goofy that you're literally just, I think I missed like one 10-second cue and I was like, oh no, boo, I suck, But literally bringing up the game audio back and forth, it was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, that run is so silly.
Yeah. But that was a middle of the night run as well, so yeah. But yeah, weird GDQ audio things, I guess. But yeah, for anyone coming to AGQ, we super stoked to see you. I'm sure you can come say hi to everybody. We'll be around. I'm working a ton, so I'll at least be able to say hi to everybody. But yeah, come hang out. I'd super appreciate it. Talk about music stuff. Talk about, ideas we have for the show. Talk about, I always love having conversations about music, about what people are passionate about. As you can see from our stream today, we talk about, a bunch of different things. It's not just one thing. There's not just one way to listen to music. There's not just one way to play music. There's not just one way to do a lot of things. So, I like seeing everyone's opinions about everything and different ways of listening and all that stuff. Speaking of ways of listening, Maxie, how do you prefer to listen to music? Do you do car, headphones? Do you do YouTube? Do you do phone earbuds? Do you have stereo? What is your thing?
Back when I started playing music and listening to a lot of music, back in my late teens, early 20s, I was actually very much so speakers.
Yeah.
Just blast them speakers.
Okay.
But I slowly started turning towards headphones. Not only that, but as a drummer, I started getting into noise canceling headphones.
Yeah. Okay.
So sometimes I would just sit there and listen to music and not be able to hear anything else. So that's definitely not what I do a whole lot today, but I still use headphones. In terms of what I like to listen on, I have a lot of music just on my computer and I just kind of play it in Fubar.
Okay.
Multiple playlists, but I also have a couple on YouTube because sometimes there are things that just are kind of uncharted, especially in the genre of music that I like to listen to a lot. Music that you can't necessarily purchase anymore, and a lot of demos from projects that are now full-blown bands, but those songs from those demos aren't actually songs that the project or band decided to recreate with better studio work and whatnot. Or
sometimes you like the demo better.
Yeah, so a prime example would be, for all of my progressive metalheads out there listening, Misha Mansour's first solo project was called Bulb, and he has a ton of those demos. And he recreated them and not recreated, but he re-released them as a full-blown thing a couple years back. But sometimes it's kind of fun to listen to the non-HD super rough versions because it's just kind of nostalgic. So I have a YouTube playlist that has all of those. So sometimes YouTube for very specific things.
Yeah. Okay, so then talking about being a drummer, and when did you figure out that you need to use protection against, all noise and all that stuff? When were you aware of it? All that stuff.
It's being invaded.
Man, that's a hard one.
Was it just like something that like somebody told you and you were like aware of? You know, you were like, oh yeah, maybe I should do that. Because it's like, so basically the experience for me was like, I went to a lot of concerts when I was, I guess in high school. And then I did damage to my ears before I got to music school. And then they were like, oh yeah, you should be using earplugs all the time. And I was like, too late.
Fair. Yeah.
But I definitely, you know, earplugs all the time, you know, for everything I do, for work, all that stuff. So, yeah, I was just wondering if you had some similar experience or anything like that. Yeah.
I mean, okay, well, first of all, ear protection is so important. The fact that you destroyed your ears is unfortunate, but...
It's not that bad. It's a
not
little
that
bit.
bad. You're okay, right? So, yeah. But I did a similar thing. I went to like a very close-knit concert one time, and I forgot my ear protection. This was a Perfect Circle.
Okay.
Saw them at a venue that was like very close-knit, and it's the show. I've seen them twice, and that was the show I liked more, despite absolutely wrecking my ears. But yeah, that was the show where I forgot my ear protection, and that was brutal. But in terms of like, I don't know.
Okay. So,
it's kind of hard to explain, like in terms of like noises,
okay.
you know. Yeah.
Okay. So, are you okay? I guess back to the run of the game. Technically, you're just getting through a bunch of stuff, or are you doing like the older route that you're used to?
Oh no, we're doing like totally updated stuff right now. I'm just breezing through the game right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Breezing through it. I made a save, killed enough enemies so that we can like get the other ending later. But we're gonna breeze through the rest of the game like this.
Okay, so you're just like
there's a couple of cutscenes that we're gonna be watching.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, for everyone out there that doesn't currently use ear protection, there's a lot of jobs where they don't tell you that you should be using ear protection. I bartended for a long time. Bartending for a long time while doing concerts is terrible. So I would literally just put my earplugs in and then just start not even speaking to people and just hoping they could read my lips and kind of like miming to them, because I was like, there's no point in me talking over and stringing my voice as well. Had a lot of problems with speaking over, yelling over people too, so I just nixed that. So yeah, just be aware. It's something that you don't really think about. Like if you're in a loud environment, it definitely does a lot more damage than you think. There's honestly pretty good options for like not the foam cheapy baby ones, which still do something, but they're not great. There's great options for like $20, honestly, and just having them on you. I know some people have issues like actually like having earbuds in their ears and the way it feels as well, but it is definitely better just for your overall like life is long and things are loud, so maybe you want to hear forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's nice being able to not wreck your ears at concerts and stuff, and like you said, at various jobs where things might be a bit loud.
Yeah. Yeah. So that. So basically, I have a little bit of tinnitus. Like I said, I was getting from just going. I went to so many concerts when I was in high school, and just you don't realize how loud it is, and then you're getting all like, yeah, you're in the pit, and you're like, yeah, and then you're in front of the sub, and you're like, oh man, it's fine, like nothing's wrong. And then like you realize suddenly you're not healing as fast, or suddenly you're in like a lot of pain, and you're like, oh, the head, it hurts. And so, basically, if I'm going to be, I live in the city, which is nice. So I have city noise. So I can like open the window and I have background city noise, which is like the perfect amount to not have the little bit of buzz is drowned out. And then, having my window AC unit make noise is also like the perfect amount. I don't have to go I don't have to have the weather machine or like the white noise amplifier or anything like that, which is good. So I need to keep it at this level where I can just a little bit of background noise drowns it out. But I grew up, my dad's a drummer and he's very deaf. And I guess back in the 80s, they didn't tell you that you had to wear ear protection. So he's a punk drummer. So we always make fun of him. Like, he would blast music in the car, have to yell at you a little bit more, talk a little bit louder. But yeah, it's just something, people should consider. I'm not telling anybody how to live their life. Have fun, do whatever, be cool, be awesome, be nice to each other. But honestly, $20 ear protection goes a long way.
Oh, it does, for sure.
Yeah. So, how often do you practice drumming now?
At least a couple times a week, just because I'm so busy with streaming. But yeah, I mean, I try. Sometimes some weeks get a bit busy and hectic, and I'm not able to do it. But
I'm home.
Oh, never mind. We're getting this one first.
Listen,
yeah.
something crazy is going on.
We're getting this one first.
Well, it's like this. And that's about it.
So this is the UFO ending. You get it by getting, I think, 31 kills with the sexy beam before getting to Heather's apartment. And the reason why I wanted to show it off is because this is the only instance of a UFO ending having a karaoke song. They really went all out here. I don't know who exactly from the team sings in this song, but yeah, they sing, and it gets a little crazy towards the end.
So, 良い子のみんな集まれ。良い子のみんなそろそろ UFO エンディングとか飽きちゃってんじゃないのかい？飽きた。よーし、みんな素直だ。素直が一番成長するぞ。それじゃあそんな成長期のみんなでサイレントヒルの歌を歌おうかな。
This has actually been shown off at the main stage a few times, and the last time, quite literally everybody from the front of the crowd, the couch, and Punchy himself all sang along to this.
Yeah!
It was quite special. But we'll just, chill and listen to this. This is one of those songs where you're making it and you're just having fun. You don't really have to think a whole lot. You just kind of play and have fun.
Gotta have the xylophone.
Yeah. It's a nice little touch. The groovy little computer noises.
It sounds like they got the whole studio to sing along. One guy was leading it, and then they were just like, yeah, sing whatever.
Sing whatever, exactly.
Yeah.
とかやたら早いし磯の香りするしそれはね魚屋さんだから乾杯ですよ
カツオください。
It was pretty wild, yeah. The sing-along was wild. I forget which one it was. I think it was... I want to say it was SGDQ 2019? Perhaps.
You're like, it doesn't matter at this point. You're like, I've been there. I'm around.
I've done so many commentaries. It's actually wild.
That's what happens when you get good at stuff. You know, you become a staple or whatever. But I mean, I guess while I'm listening to this more, as it sounds like everyone in the background is getting sick of it and a little bit more drunk, maybe.
Yeah. Yes. A little bit of sake, all right? It really loosens up the vocal cords.
That's probably what they were just like, please, we need everyone to sing this silly song like 3 times. Like, and they're like, well, if you pay for our drinks, then we'll do it after hours. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah. All right. Okay, now we're gonna load up that save. We'll do the construction site one, so that we don't kill any more enemies, and actually continue the game. So yeah, that was the UFO ending.
Yay!
Fun little karaoke song. More on the sillier side, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, what other endings do we have? And
we just have
what other
the
triggers
end of the game now, just the end of the game credits. Because the song, like the credits song is the same for the 2 other endings that you can possibly get in the game, so...
Got it.
I'm just going to show off some cutscenes, a couple of other songs and whatnot, and then the end of the game, and then we'll be done. But we do have a lot of the game to go. The UFO ending cuts, like, probably, like, 60% of the game.
Yeah.
So, there's quite a bit
left. It was just going
left.
through silent hallways, yeah.
Yeah, you don't even... Funny fact, like, you get the UFO ending before you even go to Silent Hill in this game.
Yeah. Jeez.
We're in Portland, Maine right now, so...
Yeah. So I know that you have run a variety of games at GDQ events. And everyone seems to like you. And you know, you bring great variety and professionalism to the stage and all that fun stuff. And you know, we love having you on Hotfix. But I guess what advice would you have for people that are submitting, want to get other stuff in, you know?
I feel like when it comes to submitting, I think that, you know, over the years, especially because I've been doing this for a while, I think there are multiple examples of runs that have taken years and years and years to finally actually make it into the marathon. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to submitting, I think that it's just really important to just, you know, not just have a strong submission video and whatnot, but like just, you know, be able to really describe what is great about that run and why it should be on stage. And even if you do that every single time and it doesn't get in, eventually you can, because that's what I did for Resident Evil 7 End of Zoe. I submitted that DLC for years. And oh, wrong way. And you know, of course, like I totally understand that you know, sometimes it can be a bit demotivating, but just keep doing it. Just keep carrying on, you know? No matter how long or short the game may be, you know, no matter what kind of run it is, what genre, you know, how popular it may be, just keep on submitting it. You know, there's no reason not to. And, like, you can definitely get it in, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's my example with Resident Evil End of Zoe, but I definitely like suggest also like if you do get a game in, congrats, but don't like overthink it. I think a lot of people sometimes, when they get their first run into GDQ, they end up practicing commentary a lot. Don't practice commentary too much. I actually think there's maybe sometimes too much practice, because the sense of improv is kind of lost, because it's a marathon. It's not a scripted thing. You don't know what's going to happen in your run, and if you have your commentary based around something going the way that you think it's going to go and it doesn't go that way, well, say goodbye to all of that practiced commentary.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to be able to do something on the fly if that happens. So sometimes it's best to not practice too much and kind of just, go with the flow. And it'll help also like calm your nerves too when you're up on stage. The first 5 minutes of the run for me personally, and this is like almost every run I've ever done in GDQ, that first 5 minutes is a really good way for you to just speak your mind, just talk. Just keep talking until, you feel comfortable.
That's great advice.
Just, even if you have to, like, sometimes, like, especially with the fear run that I did for, AGDQ 2021, I just told my couch, it was Casey, Fru, Brian Otto, and Waifu. I just told them all, like, hey, the first part of this run, I'm just going to talk. So just let me talk. And they were like, okay, cool. We can do that. And yeah, it just really helps. Even with the comfort of your own home, just having that first 5 minutes to talk is really nice. Because that was an online event. So definitely suggest that for sure. Guess that's like some pretty good advice I could give.
Yeah, it's nice to just be like transparent about a lot of stuff too. Just talking about like your experiences, and then giving other people advice, or being open for questions and all that stuff too. It like helps.
Yeah, I've had people ask me, because I've done so many runs. They're like, how do you do this and like not feel so nervous? And that is one of my tricks. Just first 5 minutes, just talk. Just talk, get it all out. And then, you'll be comfortable, and then like your couch will help you out. Yeah, that's also another big thing. Just like if you're in the position where you have friends at the event, if it's live, then like, just have them on the couch just for the sake of having them there to kind of just back you up, just they can say anything, just anything to comfort you. Anything to comfort you really is good.
It also helps that you have a host too who's going to interject as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
For all your dead time too. So it's like you're not carrying all the weight all the time.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah, it's definitely a big team effort. So.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole. I think that's the entire vibe is just being there together for a good cause. And trying your best. And it's like you said, you've literally had your first GQ, you had the ultimate nightmare happen. So yeah, we're in music hell right now. It's just terrible.
Just like it sounds like trash can lids smashing together.
It is, and it's funny, like I said before, they are panned directly left and right as far as you can go, so they're so in your face, so it definitely feels like the metal bars are being like banged against, by all the enemies as well.
The enemies are just making these otherworldly noises.
Crunch noise, yeah.
Crunchy growl. Yeah, the soundscape is just chaos, especially in this area. It gets even crazier too later on. So
yeah, I guess like I don't know. I don't think the loudness wars had like as much of an effect on this. Maybe like the way it was mastered, made it a little bit louder, gave it a little bit more space, whatever. But it definitely feels a little bit more in your face than Silent Hill 2 does.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like I said, once again, that might just be because of like the angle where they're going at, or it might be because like we were talking about, like just think about like the camera's even different for the game, you know? So it's all by design, definitely. I know some of the more aggressive noises are definitely loops as well. So that is literally somebody who said, you know what, this is perfect. Who like I said, worked for Roland or made one of these sound libraries, and literally is just like, yeah, out of my 5-hour loop, I found like this 30-second clip. It's perfect. Someone's gonna use it, and it's literally just screeching in your ears, and they're like, yeah. And then Yamaoka also said like, yeah, I can use that, and it worked, and here it is. Some very obnoxious noises.
Yeah, most people would be like, what? This is terrible, but no. Nope, it can fit somewhere, for sure. Yeah, Silent Hill 4, mentioned in the chat right now. Silent Hill 4 definitely has some pretty funny sound effects.
Yeah. There's significantly less music, I feel like, in 4 too.
The soundtrack is amazing in that game, but yeah, sometimes it feels a little void.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty voided right now. Like, we've literally been walking in silence for, you know, a while. So, apologies. Hey, is silence music? Is silence also music? It is on purpose, so, you know. People would argue, oh man, I can't think of it. What is it? Is it 413, 420, something like 423 song?
Is he? Sir.
433. Sorry. Are you good? Did everything happen okay?
Yeah. Nice.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he was dead, but I needed to just like kick him with my foot.
Okay. All right. Okay, here's my fun fact. Okay, let's just play devil's advocate for a minute. If silence is purposeful non-music, there is a song entitled 4 minutes and 33 seconds. It is called The Duet of Two Flutes. It was composed in 1934. Of course, we're hitting like the good music when I'm trying to explain this. Anyways, it is literally a silent song. It is a composer goes up in front of an orchestra, and then they do nothing but silence for 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
That sounds really silly. This song's really just like very chill.
Yeah.
Very simple loop. Nothing crazy going on here, but it's definitely a really nice song. And then you have this cutscene, which has probably one of the best songs. Very, very serious tune here for this very serious cutscene.
I just met some guy named Vincent.
Vincent?
He's a friend of yours, right?
I'm not sure.
He said when we get to Silent Hill to look for a guy named Leonard. And he gave me this map. What do you want to do?
We can't trust him, but we've got no other choice.
Here, take this too.
What's this?
Your father was holding it. Started raining. Are you sleeping?
I'm awake.
You cold? What's the deal with Silent Hill anyway? It used to be a
Song
nice,
starts soon.
quiet little town. But now...
You've been there?
Once, on a missing persons case. Never did find him. But I'll tell you, that's one screwed up town. My line of work, you hear a lot of nasty rumors.
I was born and raised there.
Sorry. I didn't mean to offend you.
No offense taken.
Here it is.
Yeah, this is the hardcore Twin Peaks one.
Anyway, I thought you grew up in Portland. What's wrong? Feeling sick?
My head's pounding like the worst hangover ever.
Maybe you're car sick.
No. I'm just trying to remember. My childhood. Something terrible happened in Silent Hill 17 years ago. A woman named Dahlia. She tried to summon the ancient god of the town. She offered up her very own daughter.
That's crazy.
Maybe so, but it worked. The girl gave birth to a god. You see, that girl had special powers.
Powers?
Her classmates called her a witch. She could make things happen with her mind. She could kill people just by wishing for it. But in the end, that god was killed by a single person. My father, Harry Mason. I guess it wasn't much of a god if it could be killed by a human being. But I think Claudia's trying to do the same thing again. And I've been chosen as the sacrifice.
You've got some kind of power in you too?
After the god was killed, the girl reappeared. She was holding a baby in her arms. Before she died, she gave the baby to my father. He loved me just like I was his very own daughter. Even though he didn't know who or what I was. It was so sudden. I never had a chance to tell you how happy you made me.
Yeah. That cutscene's great with the super serious with the costume.
It's so good with the costume. Yeah, it looks ridiculous, but yeah, I love that cutscene so much.
Yeah, timing of it, the way
the way the song
it's
progresses.
Mixed, yeah,
yeah,
yep. It might be the first time we actually hear harmonies in
Harmonizing. It's
yes,
so good.
At all in Silent Hill game. Yeah. It's great. Just impactful to, like the big lore drop. It helps. Woo.
Yeah, no, I love that song. That's probably one of my favorite cutscenes in the Silent Hill series, just because the song, the subject matter, going to Silent Hill, finally, like, it's just all comes together so well. I love that.
I also noticed that in the main vocals there is like a radio pad tape noise over it too, which is really cool. So it makes it sound like it's So very, very cool. Also very indicative of the trip hop genre too.
For sure, yeah. Absolutely. Very Portishead-y. That's natural.
Okay. It works. Okay, so now we're getting atmosphere again, but it is a different atmosphere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little less aggressive, I would say. Yeah, Silent Hill is pretty nice in this game. Just kind of chill out, but then we get to the hospital. Things get a little wild here. Because then you start hearing those very moist footsteps of the nurses.
I'm so happy we get to, like, pay attention, like, really, like, do a deep dive into all these great sounds that you totally want to pay attention to all the time.
Yep. And the nurses, like, heavy breathing, too.
Yep, just a lot of slurping.
Comes together really nicely.
Do we think those buttons should have reverb on them? Do we think elevator buttons reverberate in an elevator? Does that make sense? It sounded good, but I don't think it makes sense. It
sounded really good.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it would make yeah. Questionable.
Yeah, so the hospital in this game is pretty quick, but it's also, if you're playing Silent Hill 2 and then you're playing Silent Hill 3 right after, sometimes it can be a little weird because, you're essentially doing the same hospital. Silent Hill 2 and 3 have the same hospital layout entirely. You just have to do things in a different way, in a different order. So it's a little trippy. So, like, in Silent Hill 2, you'll go to unlock the staircase first, and then go to the second floor. But in this, you use the elevator to go to the second floor, and then unlock the first floor after doing this puzzle.
Does it ever freak you out running them back to back?
Not anymore, but, like, back when I used to run these games a lot more, yeah, I actually used to sometimes lose runs to just being like, oh yeah, I go this way, this is Brookhaven Hospital, and then, wait a second, this is Silent Hill 3 Brookhaven Hospital, I'm doing Silent Hill 2 Brookhaven Hospital, what is wrong with me? I've just thrown the run. Throwing for content. So that does happen. I don't know how that works, but that is so cool.
It's so inaccurate to what a wheelchair noise actually is.
Oh yeah, it doesn't sound like a wheelchair at all.
The tone would not pitch down as it slows down, but it makes sense.
But it is effective,
for what you're seeing.
For sure.
Yeah. It's just, you're in fantasy world now. It's fine. We got reverby, tiny little buttons, and just a very attention-seeking wheelchair.
Uh-huh.
It's for ambiance. So what are these loading screen goop supposed to be?
In Silent Hill 2, it's just like James's footsteps.
Okay.
In this game, it's supposed to be like flesh, like fleshy texture.
Okay. Yeah, just flesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. But it's
Just-
like I don't know how to explain
the
it
good
other than
noise.
that, really. Oh, and then we have the nurses here. One of them has a gun. You just heard the clicky. Little clicky click.
Would we say that's a gloppy noise? How would you describe it?
That is definitely a word you could use for that. Gloppy. Is that an actual word?
No, it's
okay.
No. Okay. There, brain stopped working. Definition of things bad. There is actually a word that's how noises. It's like you know how like it's not onomatopoeia and stuff, but it's like a technical term for the noise that things like are making, and they're like a descriptive word. There's an actual category for it, and I can't think of what the category is. But yeah, gloppy. Gloppy works.
Gloppy. What's that instrument? A glockenspiel?
Yeah.
A glockenspiel.
Yes. Now, I was never a percussionist in band, so don't get mad at me. I was always under the impression that the glockenspiel was the wood one and the xylophone was the metal one, but I'm probably wrong. That's probably the opposite. But
I think
always
it's the other way around.
Yes, but I always thought because of the way that the words actually sounded that was it. And then you know when you like child brain thinks you're correct because it is. Like that's what I went with.
For sure.
So
yeah. Funny enough, when I like joined band, like middle school, our teacher was like, "All right, I need everybody to pick 3 instruments they're most interested in," and my first one was percussion.
Yeah.
And I didn't get percussion, which is funny to look at now that I'm a drummer. But the second one was clarinet, and the third one was saxophone. I didn't get any of them. I got the trumpet. But you know what? The trumpet's kind of dope.
Yeah.
I didn't appreciate it as much back then, but once I got older, I was like, oh man, the trumpet's kind of a killer instrument. Oh man.
I would say a trumpet is attention-seeking. A little bit. You like being
trumpet
the center
solos?
of attention. Yeah. I mean, I deal with a lot of saxophone solos all the time. You know, like that's yeah, it's interesting that they didn't want to give you the wind instrument. They gave you the trumpet. It's probably like literally they need to fill their ranks. They're just like, you're good at that. Just go over there. You know, and they pick the instrument for you. Did you have to rent your instrument, or did you have to? Okay, yeah, I think it's a total ripoff. Yes. So I don't know. For anyone that's unaware, American public school system, if you get into band or you get into the orchestra, they force you to go to a place to rent the instrument when you're like a tiny little baby. And then your parents have to sign the form saying like, if you mess this up, you have to pay for it in full. And it's like, these instruments cost thousands of dollars, and you're paying. I don't know how much like my parents paid for like my little baby violin, but you know, it's a ripoff, and it makes me very nervous. Yeah, but
yeah, I eventually did quit that band for like. I played for like 2 years, and then it was like, nah, dude, this third year I'm out. My band teacher was like, no, you're the worst trumpet player in the band, please stay. I was like, no, I'm gonna go learn guitar.
Yeah, got a whale.
Worth.
So, when did you play Silent Hill 2 and 3 for the first time?
So like horror games in general, I didn't really get into until I was about 15, I will say. So I was kind of late on it. I didn't have like much of a horror craze, growing up. So I was like 15, I got into Resident Evil is what I started with.
Okay.
I was at a family friend's house, and well, my parents' family friends, and they had a son who was way older than me.
Okay.
Just before and after dinner, it's like he was like, "Hey, you like video games?" Or I'm like, "Yeah, I love video games." And he was like, "All right, cool. I mean, I got some games," and he just like, I guess he just wanted to show me Resident Evil 2, so he showed me, and I was like, "Whoa, this is weird."
What sick tricks? Like, was trying to show off and stuff. Be like, look at everything I learned. Yeah. I hope everyone has had that experience where, you're borrowing a game or, like going over a friend's house and being like, whoa, like, what is this? And then the ultra experience is after you get really into playing that game, realizing that they sucked real bad when they were trying to show off to you. And you're like, what were you even trying to show off?
Yep, that was my experience. I was shown Resident Evil 2, and then I was like, okay, this is cool. Next time I get like birthday or Christmas money or something, I'm gonna go get one of these games. So I did. Sick. I went to go get Resident Evil Remake and Resident Evil 0 on the Nintendo GameCube.
Yeah.
And wow, that opened a lot of my interest in horror in general, not just horror games, but just horror in general. So, because growing up, of course, I saw some horror movies, but I was just like, so scared of them, and I just couldn't handle them. But then playing Resident Evil games and getting into that is really what helped me kind of overcome that fear and enjoy horror. And so Silent Hill kind of came after the Resident Evil games. Like, I played a few Resident Evil games, and then I looked into, like, okay, so what are some of the other big notable ones that I like absolutely need to play? And Silent Hill 2 and 3 were up there. Well, Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, 4 were like, those are like the OG like quadrilogy of very good Silent Hill games. So I was like, okay, I need to play one of these. So I played Silent Hill, and I remember playing Silent Hill 1, and I was like not that into it at first. For some strange reason, just like the real slow build of Silent Hill 1 and like running around town wasn't as interesting to me as like the mansion and like the Raccoon City and stuff. But I did give it a second chance. I really liked it. And then Silent Hill 2 was like the game that blew me away. I think I was like 16 when I played Silent Hill 2 and 3. I think I was 16. When I was 16, I played a lot of just like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Fatal Frame. Those were the games that I started with. And Silent Hill 2 in particularly blew me away. It's still my favorite horror game of all time, but like the first time I played it, it became my favorite horror game. One of my favorite games in general of all time. And that was a pretty crazy experience, and I didn't really understand everything, because nobody really understands Silent Hill 2 fully the first time you play it. So I found myself replaying it quite a bit to try and understand the story that I didn't quite understand at first. But even on that first playthrough, without knowing all of the really interesting things, it was very mind-blowing, very touching. And then I started obviously getting to music a lot, because that's when I started learning drums and guitar and stuff. So I did really like the music of Silent Hill. That was something in Resident Evil that I felt was cool, but didn't really resonate as much with me. But Silent Hill, Akira Yamaoka, I felt that as a musician. I was like, this is so cool. Some of these songs are just like, these aren't just like songs that you just put in a video game, right? These are just like short masterpieces for horror in general. That was exactly where I was leading you with that question, so I appreciate it. I was trying to say, when did you play them, and did it speak to you musically, and like how old were you, and did it make sense with what you were listening to at the time? It definitely spoke to me musically, because when it was around that time that I was still listening to like a lot of like not super old school music, but like pretty old school stuff. Like, so, you know, and it's funny because my parents, you know, have, at that time, you know, they had a lot of CDs just laying around of just various songs and stuff. And they had a Massive Attack CD,
wow. Cool,
you know,
parents.
and I listened to it and I was like,
you
this
said
is dope.
they're English too, so they have the no.
Yep.
They had the ins. Yeah. That's great.
So Massive Attack I listened to like pretty early on, and even though it was just like my parents' music and I was like, all right, okay, but you know, over the years it was like, okay, this is pretty cool actually. And then, you know, obviously the connection happens and you start realizing that, you know, some video game music is like very similar to just music that you would listen to regularly. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of crossover. It's not just, you know, beeps and boops and synthesizers and MIDI and stuff. It's like,
or big orchestra stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I really, that resonated with me a lot. And
yeah, it was definitely like that eye-opening moment for you. Like you were like the quote unquote correct age to receive the music and understand it as well.
Because at first, you know, like until that point, I think my favorite soundtrack in a game was Final Fantasy X, and that's just that's just way different, you know.
Yeah.
But like I love that soundtrack, but obviously it's like nothing I would regularly listen to.
Yes.
Growing up, like I'd listen to all like the rock music and stuff. There was no relation there. But then Silent Hill is that connection, really.
Yeah, and it's hard because like a lot of times with games you have to have the emotional context for what's going on too.
Right.
Like that, like yeah, it's great. Like we were talking about for this cutscene here, you know, or even we're talking about 10. You're talking about like the chant song that the sending song that happens all the time. You know, it takes on different meaning like throughout the game, and whatnot. So,
right.
There's the exit. That was supposed to be the exit, but it seems that no one wants you to leave. Everyone really likes you. They want you.
Just sounds like a hairdryer.
Like going real fast.
Yeah.
A little high pitched.
Well, listen, good Foley is just having your ears open and listening to stuff, you know.
True.
And being like, that'll be interesting. If you're in the right mind space and you go out into the world and you're listening to stuff, then you can see it. Just so much going on.
Oh yeah. Like I said, there's a lot going on in Silent Hill 3's soundtrack and its noises and whatnot. It's crazy. We are almost at a point where we're gonna listen to a little something special. We're getting there. Just got to do like the various Silent Hill puzzles, you know, picking up a high heel and like a 10-foot chain and.
That's cool because I'm listening to it and mixing in a surround sound scenario or even just a stereo scenario is so important, especially to nowadays how we listen to games and where things are coming from directionally. Not only just listening, also for assistance, for directional help as well, but when you can use panning, just panning correctly and make it come around you and programming it to be in like a certain place, it adds so much to everything. And so we were hearing like these layers that we were hearing, just like, you know, oh, there's an enemy nearby noise, and background ambience noise, which is basically just like distorted like atmosphere, and it's coming back and forth and it's going like left to right to left to right, and that's so interesting just to like put you completely off balance because it comes out of the left and then goes back into the right, and yeah, just like the things that you don't pick up on and why they're affecting you.
And coming up here is okay, when I was younger, I thought this was a pretty good representation of like what a merry-go-round would sound like. I don't know if that really rings true nowadays, but I'll let you in chat decide what you think about this.
Is this a good merry-go-round? This is accurate.
Yeah, sorta.
Merry-go-round enjoyers.
We'll just like chill and listen to it for a little bit. I think it sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'll add so much.
But unfortunately, we must sexy beam all of these horses to death.
Okay.
They're not real horses, don't worry.
They're making real horse noises.
They make real horse noises, though. And funny enough, you can listen to this, like, forever on loop if you just hold this text up. Just sit here and listen to it. But, you know, I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna listen to this.
More. Yeah, okay.
I don't know about you, but I think that sounds so cool.
So I know the guy that was doing the chanting, like auditioned for something else. He was auditioning for either voice or doing like also playing guitar. And they were like, "Hey, can you do some chanting?" And it's like, "Yeah, here's some chanting." And they're like, "Perfect, we're using it." And I was like, "Okay." So it's just stuff.
Yeah, I love the chanting. And this boss theme in general is, like, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because the chanting is still going.
It just freaks me out every time that you're descending. Like,
yeah.
It works so well.
Oh, and you can also actually hold the memory of Alessa in, like, this down state where she just constantly is...
Up throwing? Like inhale throwing up? Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is pretty funny.
The unburping.
The unburp. I reverse burp. I take my burp back. Yeah, that's super fun. I like that area. That's... Funny enough, if you actually speedrun this, like, any percent new game, not new game plus, that is, like, one of the hardest... Oh god, this sounds awful. Those are the worst footsteps. They're just too wet.
Bleep, glop, and glorping, yeah.
Yep, and that's like one of the hardest boss fights in just like regular 80%. Many runs die there. To the memory of Alessa, but at least you get to hear cool chanting in the background while your run dies. That's pretty cool.
And you just, yeah, and you're just like, no, my baby. And then when you go to sleep at night, just thinking about how you lost your PB, and it's just like,
That's all you can hear.
It's like, why?
It's just chanting. All right, we're in the last area of the game. Try to make it nice and quick.
Yeah, I guess while we're heading out to the last area, do you have any shout outs? Do you want to talk about anything? Plug anything? I know it's been like the You show the whole time, but
I mean, like, I guess like shout out to the like various people that got me into speedrunning Silent Hill. Like the games themselves, speedrunning in general and the games themselves got me interested in running Silent Hill games, but definitely like a shout out to Nub Zombie, who I've learned like a lot about Silent Hill in general. Like some of the stuff that you've been mentioning about like the music side, like I learned also through him. He's just like a encyclopedia of Silent Hill. And shout outs to Techie, like the OG runner of Silent Hill 1 and GDQ. So shout outs to those two. And just in general, like the Silent Hill speedrun community is pretty chill. A lot of good talent as well. The games have been very optimized over the years. Definitely, there's been a lot of like, you know, a lot of work that's been done. A lot of respect and love for one another's work. I personally myself did a world record history video for this game, and like if you want to learn more about like various veteran Silent Hill speedrunners, that video will definitely show you a lot of familiar faces. And yeah. Shoutouts to every single like Silent Hill run I've couched for.
okay.
It's like, now that I think about it, funny one that I rarely ever mention on GDQ. This is like the first time I think I'm mentioning it on GDQ, but if you are someone who just really likes background noise, like to go to sleep to, my good friend Bach Basoop ran Silent Hill 3 at SGDQ 2016.
Yep, I watched it. It was amazing. It's amazing.
And for some strange reason, I don't know how it happened, but Bach was probably on like no sleep for
yeah, because he had just gotten
36 hours, 36 hours no sleep.
He just arrived, and then he had to do what, back-to-backs or something like that?
Back-to-back,
yeah.
Silent Hill 3 and then Resident Evil 2. We call it the Bach block of
it was amazing.
2016. But that Silent Hill 3 run is probably like the most chill ASMR-esque run you will ever see on GDQ. Ever. It's hilarious how quiet we both are. I have no idea why either. I don't know why. We were just both so quiet. Like, he was obviously so tired. And I'm on the couch, and, like, I'm kind of nervous because he's so tired. And I'm the only one on the couch, because I'm the only one at the event who can actually explain anything in the game.
Oh, no!
So I'm, like, sitting there.
There was no one there. I remember 0 people. My brother and I were watching, and we were like, this is the best thing ever. And I remember his community showed up, and then somebody was like, the host was saying like, oh, from Bakba Mom, and they're like, oh, that's not Bakba Mom, that's Mama Soup is my mom. And then somebody was like, at Bakba Dad, and he goes, oh, hi Dad. Like, just like people were showing up. It was so wonderful. It was just so like unhinged. So are you telling me that you ASMR yourself to sleep by listening to that? By listening to yourself,
I mean, if I really needed that, that would be a good choice. I'm just saying, like that. I swear that whole entire run, I was speaking like so silently,
in but a whisper.
Like, so in this next room, Bach is going to actually strafe turn to the right here, and he's going to be picking up this ampule. Like the whole time, I was literally talking like that, and it was just so funny to rewatch. I was just like, wow,
that
this is
got
good.
me into watching Bach Basoop like constantly from there on out. Like it was so magical.
Yeah, it was the first time he and I like met each other.
Oh, that's wonderful. Just the
so funny.
The weirdest time ever.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you need some good ASMR, 2016's, little horror Bakba block there is your ASMR moment. Yeah. Damn, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was one of my like great quintessential like GQ moments because I'm such a night owl too. Like, unfortunately, when I'm working for like corporate stuff, like I have to do morning things, and it sucks. I love having the quiet evenings of no one's around. There's no pressure to do anything, So I always like doing late night stuff. So I appreciate that, and that's where the magic happens too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's like it for for shout-outs.
Well, you want to talk about you a little bit more? You want to talk about your channel when you stream, what you like streaming?
Yeah, I mean, I do this full time. I've been doing it full time for like forever. So if you ever need a chill spot, like very late night, early morning for all the people across the pond and like in EU and stuff, I just speedrun a lot of games. Lately, I've been doing challenge runs.
Yeah.
I beat Resident Evil 1 Remake recently without walking, which sounds really silly. I'm releasing that video. I'm releasing that on Saturday on YouTube.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been doing like challenge runs and just various things. I've been learning some new games here and there. I really want to learn Alan Wake 2. Speaking of music, oh man, yeah. I just want to learn how to speedrun that game just so I can experience it over and over again and listen to that music. But yeah, no, I just do a bunch of stuff, and I like to just chill and speak about a bunch of stuff, including music. I do that a lot, actually. So
yeah. Who doesn't like screaming insects?
Yeah, right. Those are the noisiest enemies in the game by far. By far. Do I remember how to do this? It's so funny. Sometimes I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I don't remember this, but then I just do it. Just works. Is this gonna be one of those times? Yeah.
Magic. It's like your brain took over. You just said, do it for me. Thank you.
Yes, exactly.
It remembers. This is what practice is for, so you don't have to use brain. Thumbs just do the thing for you.
Heck yeah.
All right. The siren is absolutely backwards because you hear it going like shoo, 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 which is great. I always appreciate a backwards played track.
That's a
the
theme for
fun.
this boss is sick.
Okay.
I will literally just like stand here and just look at this boss just to listen to this theme. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Just the organ, just. Got like the booming drums in the back and yeah, it's just epic.
So sick.
I don't know what those noises are. Those have always intrigued me.
It's
like the kind of
a
almost
gravel paper noise.
Yeah, like sandpaper or something.
It's very closely mic'd.
We're gonna sexy beam God.
Who doesn't do that on a daily basis, you know?
Yeah. Classic. Just a regular Thursday night. And there we've defeated God. Woohoo!
Yeah, woohoo! Yeah.
And now we'll listen to the credits song.
Yeah.
which is a bit of a throwback to the original Silent Hill 1
Yeah.
song, which is really cool.
Spoke of torture, souls so outrageous that whole. You can lose all you have. He refused to give in to the town that takes all. Survive. You must have the will. This movie doesn't end the way we want all the time. When he shouts at the moon, she's gone, and fear has overcome. He was walking the mile. He was walking alone. So outrageous and tall. You can lose all you have. He refused to give in.
Somebody always mentions David Bowie.
That takes all. Survive.
I love the snare drum in the song.
Yeah, it's cool that it doesn't kick in until like the full verse goes through too.
This movie doesn't end the way we want all the time. When he shouts at the moon, she's gone, and fear has overcome. He was walking the mile. He was walking alone. 420 dead birds, they bleed upon the nest. There was no time for reasons. They had no sign of a threat. Now it's too late for me. This town will eventually take me. Too late for me. This town will win. Through this fog they came on. Dark pictures singing a terrible song. The rest of the bar laughed at him. Only I felt my own cruelty. They found him dead the very next day. No more stories from him. I heard them say, we blame bad luck for his fate.
Joe Ramirza, legend.
That someday all things will end. That misty night, that dismal moon, the dead search for their kin, while angels sleep in endless dark. The dead seek out its sin.
And of course, shout outs to Akira Yamaoka. What a genius.
Yeah.
What a
Yeah.
genius.
Yeah. Fun fact: he did most of the Cyberpunk Edgerunners soundtrack. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what he's been up to. He's just doing more stuff, being asked to do more things. So, you know, sticking in there, you know, and it fits so well. So yeah.
What a cool dude.
Yeah. Maxie, thanks for showing these off for us and talking about it and talking about your experience as a musician and all that fun stuff. Sorry everyone got info dumped like the first 10 to 20 minutes about a lot of this stuff. So if you want to learn more about the soundtrack, there's lots of YouTube videos out there that talk about like the way they use loops and all that fun stuff too. So if you're interested in that, Maxie, you're going to be on Out of Bounds next week, aren't you?
Yeah, Monday.
Okay.
Monday.
Cool.
Being Out of Bounds.
Yep. Awesome. All right. We'll see you there. Yeah, I just have a couple more things I want to talk about before we say goodbye for the night. So prize submissions are live for Awesome Games Done Quick 2024. If you are crafty or have a unique gaming prize that you would like to submit, go to gamesdonequick.com for more info. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel. Also go to twitch.com/gamesdonequick to watch our shows live. Tune in tomorrow for Going Places, Grudge Match, and Parallel Universe. They all start at 4. I know Grudge Match, they were talking about they're doing all blind, like nobody's played the games before, so that'll be super fun and weird and a good time. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Maxie, for being here. We'll see you Monday, Maxie. Have fun.